welcome to the Southern African Endurance Series. My name is Nadine Wilkin, and here with me is Gareth Burley and Brendan Kelly, and we're going to walk you through the race day today. We are out at Kaburga at Aldo Scribante racetrack, ready for round 3. We've got some regional races coming up, as well as our liquid Moly Super Vs, and then the reason why we're all here today is the South African Endurance 5 hours. So before we get started, Brendan, can you tell us a little bit about the regional races that's taking place today and how we're going to handle it in this sort of weather conditions?
Nadine, thanks very much, and thanks very much for this opportunity. Yeah, it's looking a little bit bleak out on track at the moment. There's two major points of concern. Turn 5, we've got standing water, and we're just worried about the cars aquaplaning when they come through there. I know there's a couple of the local motorbike guys that have said no, too dangerous. They'd rather not sacrifice their equipment. So that's going to be put a little bit of a damper on the day. But then we've got a nice big field of coastal challenge, historics and classics, and retro and open top cars, which is always a crowd favorite. We've got Neil Stephen, who's come down from East London, well known in the Eastern Cape or nationally as a Group N, standing Group N racer, and one of the Delta team drivers. He's in a little Ford Escort with a Pinto motor in, so he'll be a man to watch. We've got some very quick angliers as well. Darren Weiss, the man that leads out the championship in his high-tech doors anglier. And a nice mix of cars. Obviously, the Lotus 7s, Elwin Kretzmann and Picky Marais in the Lotus 7s will have lots of fun in the wet conditions. And then the regional modified saloons, we've got a heap of guys that have come down from East London. Sean Gradwell and Paul Berry, the very quick BMWs. And then our club chairman, Ian Riddle, is back in his BMW. So he's got a Class A BMW, so he'll obviously be one of the guys to watch out front. So they're going to have to go out there and just feel the conditions. The guys are getting ready to go out on track shortly and just feel it and see what it's like and race according to the conditions. It's obviously going to be hectic. The rain forecast for most of the day today and right into the night. So it's going to be interesting to see how the endurance cars handle it, very, very low to the ground, how they handle the aquaplaning around the circuit.
Thank you, Brendan. Gareth, can you give us a bit about what's happening with liquid Moly Super Vs? Yesterday we did have race 1 already, so maybe you can just give us current standings or something and what's happening today.
Yeah, thanks, Nadine. We're getting a bit of rain at the moment. Brendan, a bit of power boating is looking a bit familiar, yeah? Well, of course, these guys are open cockpits, open wheels, so it's a bit unknown for many of them. In fact, we had a rookie win yesterday, the opening race. We got all our familiars, of course, that are here with us. In fact, they're loving being part of the traveling circus, putting their vehicles onto trailers, driving across the country, people asking questions. So, of course, it's really exciting to have the Super Vs part of the National Series here. So they're very much at home, although this is very different conditions. These are guys who are pretty much doing this as a hobby. They're working on it, they're fixing things, they're helping one another out. So, yeah, I think Rushan Chambranda is going to be one to look out for today. He quite enjoys these conditions. Alan Mayer, he's the man behind the whole series. He's been doing an outstanding job. They're licking their lips a little bit. They think they've got a chance to win. Of course, two series that are taking part here. We've got the Super Vs that everyone's looking out for, and then we've got the X Series, which is sort of the faster cars. They're not an official series, but they are here starting at the back of the grid. They struggled yesterday to actually make their way through the Super V cars. Much faster, but just with the conditions. Couldn't get the tyres warm enough. They're certainly not warming the tyres before the race. So I think they're going to be perhaps power boating at the back there, Brendan. So we'll be interesting to see how they play out today. But we are in for a cracking day. Listen, if you're thinking, oh, these weather conditions are not for racing drivers, look, these people are crazy enough to go at these speeds around tracks in the dark last night. So a little bit of water is certainly not going to dampen the spirits here for today, yeah.
Thanks, Gareth. Right, and then over to the SAE. Current standings, we've got the People Group leading the overall class. They're also leading Index of Performance and their V8 Roadsters. We've got Kalex leading Class C. Class A is still a tie between BBR and Adjust for Sleep. Adjust for Sleep did a whopping 56 qualifying time yesterday. And yeah, as Gareth said, these guys are not scared of the dark, of the wet, of anything. And as you guys know as well, we never disappoint with the Southern African Endurance Series. After round 1, we had fires. Cars were on fire. Round 2, half the Oaks ended up into the kitty litter. And so, I mean, we had to have a wet and rainy setup scene for today.
Yeah.
So stay with us. Also look out, Michael Stevens back. He's with the Just for Sleep team, a local racer, actually our 2023 champion. So look out for him and a few of the other big names. And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys all out there.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, a bit of a cold and windy morning here at Quebec at the Aldo Scribante. This is going to be a absolutely phenomenal run that is going to test drivers' skills in something a little bit more different. I know that Gareth Early joining back into the commentary box after being out there in the wind. Glad you haven't been blown away all the way to East London.
Yeah, good morning, Stephen. Good morning to our viewers from around the world tuning in with a passion for motorsport. What you are seeing here is the famous Aldo Scribante track, looking out from the hangar, the connection back onto the track, and there's the last corner, Dunlop. The wind has changed direction. Of course, the cold front has moved across from Cape Town. And yesterday we saw the weather coming from the city towards the racetrack, so we sort of could view it. We could actually view the weather coming towards us and see whether the rain was coming. Today, unfortunately, not the same. It's coming straight off the ocean, so the visibility is not as clear for us. We don't see whether it's clearing up or whether it's getting worse. So it's a bit of a guessing game, unfortunately, at the moment. The predictions are pretty much what we're seeing at the moment. Rainy, strong windy conditions. And for our SAES guys, well, they're still pretty much chomping at the bit to get going, where for some of our other competitors, it seems like they might be throwing in the towel this morning.
Well, going and taking a look at it, it's all about testing who's brave enough to go for it. I mean, do you remember the days of when Senna was driving in those absolutely horrendous conditions? Yeah. And the first thing that was said is you've got to take every opportunity. Every point counts for the championship. And taking a look at our closer championship points are for our SAE. No one has any room to give, especially our Class A cars that everyone has missed out around. But we've also had lots of news happening in free practice and in qualifying to the late hours of last night, trying to get cars ready that were running faultlessly, and then all of a sudden, poof,
problems.
Gone.
Yeah, look, we've got 5 hours of racing to come. That's getting underway at 4 o'clock this afternoon, so we're just passing 9 o'clock local time, wherever you're watching in from around the world. So anything can happen, and I think what we've seen on these days is that sometimes someone really who just sticks it in and holds on till the very end is the one that comes through with the victory. So I think we're in for an intriguing day. So don't let the weather put you off. I think we're in for an historic and key moment, of course, for the South African Endurance Series. Now, the big news, of course, yesterday, we kept a close eye on those lap times. We thought the lap record could be broken. As you can see, the weather conditions today, we're not going to get close to that. Nothing like the 56 seconds we had yesterday from free practice and qualifying, eh?
Only way you're getting a 56 seconds at the moment is you put a kite out and you're going flying down the highway. But we won't be seeing those sort of times. What we will see is how drivers are going to adjust their vehicles, because with the high gusts, the last thing you want to do is put as much aero as possible, because then the wind will control you. So you want to try and flatten everything out, try and get that air just to go over the car and get right around you, especially with the changing conditions. So I expect a lot of our high aero vehicles, such as our GT3s, our GT4s, and also the Nova prototype, flatten out those wings, just get it ready to handle whatever gusts of wind that come over it. For our V8 National Roadster Championship, well, there isn't much you can do other than take a deep breath and use your right foot as the throttle.
Yeah, so yesterday, of course, the wind was helping down the main straight, so we saw some really quick times. Just to mention, 3 drivers getting into the 56 seconds yesterday, so we had a bit of an internal bet going on here as to who would be the quickest. So it was, of course, unfortunately, Charles Rangi's we thought might be one of those contenders, but in the end, they've had some problems and they are out. We'll get to that breaking story throughout the day because it seems like it's still developing a little bit. But let's talk about Stuart White in the Lamborghini Huracan. It's mighty, mighty fast. He was separated by 0.0 seconds away from Charles Visser, and of course Michael Stephen as well in the Nova. But of course very different conditions. Wind were behind them down the main straight. Today we're seeing the wind coming from the side, actually from the pits across the main straight. So anyway, we're not looking at those times, but yeah, very fast.
And the regional races, going and taking a look at the conditions, some opting that they want to brave it out, others saying, well, let's rather be a little bit more cautious here. But as said, it favors the brave. Who's going to be able to do it? I do think for our motorcycle riders, this is very tricky conditions for the cars. It's whether you've got windscreen wipers or not. Some don't actually have windscreen wipers. They didn't come with windscreen wipers or were removed for weight reasoning. And you can just see how already on our cameras the water build up, and some of the camera shots that we're hearing from the cameraman saying that the wind is going and buffeting around our marshals, going and hiding away from the wind as well, just to be very cautious with this one. I mean, there's so much going on. Even a chat to the Moly Super Vs, the guys are wandering with their wings, of just trying to flatten it out as much as possible because they will get blown around. So Aldo Scribante going and giving us everything. We always talked about how many exciting times that can happen, any sort of spanners that can get thrown in the works. Well, it looks like this time is conditions will be the one.
All right, so in terms of the track condition, having the marshals out on the course, of course our Clark has gone around, and it's not too bad except for one spot. Out at the hairpin, turn 6, a bit of water on the inside, which is a key for the racing line. Of course, the drivers could avoid it, but certainly it's one that needs to be sorted out. So they're busy working at the moment, trying to see if we can resolve that. Certainly the conditions here in a GT3 car sitting in the cockpit there would be fine. What we are concerned about is, of course, all the open cockpits that we've got here. Let's talk for a moment a little bit about the Super Vs. They had race 1 yesterday, and if you join us on live streaming, we had an incredible race with DJ Bosman alongside Yanni Gerber and Alan Meyer. They were the top 3 in the X class. So we'll talk a little bit about why they are called the X class. But the main Super V class saw Lushan Ramchanda leading at one point, and a man who's making his debut, the rookie, he took the race victory yesterday. And in fact, what happened was he got into the lead, then he had a problem, and so they red flagged the race. And in fact, what happened then was, when we did the pit interviews afterwards, he said that he was gifted the victory because they had to take the race 1 lap back. Is that right?
Yes, so the rule states when the red flag comes out, they go 1 lap back. And Lushan, unfortunately, got past, and when it was 1 lap back, it was handed over to Bevan Williams, who has got a wealth of experience. Didn't expect to have it, and was also caught off guard. I think everyone was chomping at the bits of who actually crossed the line first. But third place in the Super Vs is Francois Jacobs, whose first ever time on the podium, smiling ear to ear. Apparently, he didn't even get sleep last night. He was smiling ear to ear. Andre Leroux, the chairman, busy going and saying that was a bit crazy.
Bevan Williams, of course, then, his first outing, he was surprised. Please go and have a look at the live stream that we had yesterday when we told him, you've won. He's, what? I won? What? It was such a great reaction. So Super Vs, we're hoping they've got race 2 coming up a little bit later on this morning. We'll keep you updated on that. Let's give you a little insight now. With the 5 hours of Scribante, of course, now we've got today, this afternoon, we've got conditions expected to change. So from day into night, we saw last night the conditions extremely different. Now we've got rain and wind thrown in. So we're going to do a little hot lap with one of the teams and see what the conditions are like from a daytime perspective into a nighttime perspective for these drivers. So let's have a quick look and see how this rolls out.
All right, so this is the Stradale Mercedes that we're on board, and you can see already brake markers, everything is clear as day. You can go into the corners without too much of a worry. Turn 1, always a tricky one to just give a little bit of a lift, slight dab on the brakes, pull yourself through turn 2 into turn 3, taking quite a bit of curb. You can notice all your brake markers, especially on the peripherals, left and the right. The tire barriers are the ones to keep a note of, because when it gets dark, those fade into oblivion. You're going to be relying purely on the headlights under hard braking.
Right into the hairpin, that's where we've got some standing water at the moment. This is one of the favorites viewing spots. And we've got this sweep now, big left turn, a little bit actually changing down the gear as they hit now to the final corner of the Dunlop. And this is a tricky one. You can see it's a long right turn. You've got to find, don't get onto the throttle too quickly. Wait. And there you can see he rolls out just perfectly down the main straight. They're hitting about 260, 270 Ks. Right, just one of the Cobras, or one of the backdraft Roadsters now into the night race, Steve, for very different conditions, hey?
Now, you can just notice everything that you thought. The buildings in the distance, gone. The brake markers, gone. You're relying purely on the headlights. Going and looking for the edges of the circuit. You're using your left-hand front light just to see where things are. Hard braking into turn 1. You can also try to keep off the curbs, going a little bit later for the apexes because it's just fading away underneath you. You're having to look in your peripheral vision constantly to see where is anything that you remember. And as time goes on, it's going to be a little bit harder, as we have seen a couple of cars taking some of the brake marker boards in practice out the way. So you've got to try and spot everything.
Well, it looks really dark as they come up towards the hairpin there. You can see one of the faster cars coming through, looking for their braking marks. Of course, now you throw the rain and the wind in the dark into this mix. It makes for very tricky conditions. Here comes the sweep now to the left. Another fast car, one of the Audis coming through. Looking for your mark, just down a gear. This is one of the spectator-friendly spots. Seeing these cars come through at this speed is just absolutely beautiful to see. Here we go into the final corner now, Dunlop. And this is that long, drawn-out right-hand turn. Don't get on the throttle too quickly. You're looking for the start-finish line in the distance. There you see it now. And then you throw it down. So, very different kind of conditions. I mean, this is just the camera lens. You can see the reflection. I can't imagine onto the helmet what that's going to do as well, Steve.
Well, from third, fourth to fifth, and you've got to try and also keep an eye out where you're going. You have bright lights. A lot of the drivers are saying the GT3s, the GT4s have got these insanely bright lights that blur out the mirrors. So you have to try and guess where the drivers are. But we've got a whole bunch of pros racing with us. Add a bit of rain to it. The reflections are going to be even more intense as time goes on. But this is endurance racing. Yeah. This is what it's all about. Testing the drivers, the machinery, and the teams in how they can handle all sorts of conditions.
Yeah, so we saw from some of those images there, looked like it's clearing up a little bit. There is a bit of a hope maybe of some clearing. Now I'm getting signals here from the rest of the team. No. It's Tetris out there. So it looks like we're going to keep you updated. Let's just run through the program of what sort of was planned. We were hoping for the SAEs to get out quite soon, as well as the Super Vs for a bit of a practice, but we're not sure that that's going to happen now. They're still hoping to clear some of the water, particularly out at turn 6, the hairpin up at the top end of the track. But just throwing it ahead to about 4 o'clock this afternoon, the 5 hours of Aldo Scribante, round 3 of 6 to come, and we're hoping, irrespective of the weather, that we are going to get that underway at 4 o'clock. There's going to be the grid walk. Some of the fans are going to get a chance to come and see these cars close by. Of course, we've got some really big developing stories happening throughout the day as to who's going to be on pole position. Are they going to be on pole position? They've been working on the cars through the night. So those stories are going to be developing through the day. Can you believe we're starting at 4 o'clock? Steve, we're going to be finishing in the dark at 9 with the rain and the wind in the mix. It's the kind of race where anyone who's on the grid could potentially win it.
Well, that's it. It doesn't necessarily mean the fastest car is going to win. It's the tortoise and the hare situation. You may have, like what we're having in our overall championship, where we've got our V8 National Roadster class actually leading the top of the charts, where our Class A's, which are the fastest machinery in the country, not quite featuring there. But when it comes down to rainy conditions or any wet weather conditions, it doesn't matter. The more power you got, the more you've actually got to lose, where less power is going to come into the favor here. So consistency is key. Yeah,
let's talk about two of the big stories then that we have got coming through this morning. Of course, Moly Motorsport. Charles Arangis and Andre Neveling missed the first 2 rounds. Now, Charles, if you throw your minds back to end of last year, of course, winning the championship on the final day, arriving with this beautiful AMG Mercedes to the track, but unfortunately one of their co-drivers took it out, the car. They quickly then rushed to their garage and brought one of their Audis there. And with all the drama that happened through the 9 hours of Kyalami, they actually then won the championship on that round. Now, chatting to Charlie, he said he actually they've taken some time out because he knew he had surgery coming to actually prepare the car. So they've brought it here to this track feeling very strong and confident, and something's gone wrong.
Yeah, the input shaft that's from the gearbox going and snapping right at the last minute. I mean, a car that was running faultlessly, it had numerous parts replaced, all brand new, but the one part that carried over from the car from Kyalami was the part that failed. Sure. And it was out through the hairpin where we had Arnold Devling saying he was just going through, felt the gearing, and it went snap. Yeah. And that was it. That's all she wrote. One of the crowd favorite cars, and also one of the cars that looked to be at the sharp end of the field, now out of the mix.
All right, but they are going to, hopefully, they have brought another car, a 911 GT3 Porsche, which they're hoping to compete in the 1 hour endurance. We were hoping to twist there, or maybe to do the 5 hours, but looks like it's just going to be Charles doing the 1 hour. Nice to see some spectators arriving at the track. This is out at that hairpin, and we saw some of the marshals. You can see them actually standing out in the open because the rain's just dropped off a little bit, although very windy conditions. Right, we mentioned the And there we can see them just looking at where the water, it's very soggy in this section. This is now at turn 6 that we were talking about. And so they're trying to find a way to actually maybe pump some of that water away. What's happening is where they are standing is a little bit higher than the track. So the water is actually like seeping down onto the track. So they're trying to see if they can make a plan there. Doing a bit of a balancing act there. We might get see a fall from one of our marshals and officials. So that's the big story there. Let's just quickly talk about the other big one, of course, is the Slingshot 2.0, the backdraft racing car that Mike McLaughlin, Steve Clark, and they, of course, have always been in contention because they've been consistent, but they've been working through the night on that car. Do we have any stories and news on them?
So they've so far broken 3 fan belts on that car. They were going through a multitude of different, figuring out what's going on, because it's not just throwing the fan belt off, it's physically snapping it. But unfortunately, the fan belt's landing out on the circuit somewhere, so they can't even bring it back to see where exactly it's snapped or how badly it's been torn apart. So lots of ideas of trying to tinker around, working with tensioners, looking maybe if it's getting too hot and the belt is going and melting. Is it jumping off the teeth and hooking on something? There was lots of trying to figure it out. I know even in the pits now, they were still racking their heads because the only way they can make sure the car is going to work is they're going to have to do lap after lap, pull it in and see if it's moved. Unfortunately, that's not the case right now. So this is worst case scenario for them, because if they don't get out for a little bit of free practice, it's all going to come down to the race. Cross your fingers and just hope that the car holds together and becomes Miss Old Reliable.
And the story, not only is it the weather, but an incident that took place in the free practice. It actually was the 93 Audi, the bucket list racing Audi, that went off there with Stephen Koenig joining me again. I think it was a brake failure. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, so unfortunately he had a puncture on the brake line, had brake failure. The driver, Ryan Leica, was going as fast as he can, went onto the brakes, the pedal went to the floor, and unfortunately at about 100 k's an hour, he went and bounced up and landed on top of the tires. Thankfully, it was only just bodywork damage that happened to the car. They got the car back to the pits, got it all sorted out, went out for qualifying. He actually went and did some fantastic lap times in the night. But then he went and got the car all done and dusted, came into the pits, but the pit crew giving him a little gears for it, saying, listen, don't break the car again.
Okay, so that's a developing story. We'll keep an eye on that. You can see the guys are going to be busy there. Wayne's already made his way around to that section. Right, this weekend, of course, not only are we here at the 5 hours of Aldo Scribante, but we are celebrating an amazing man, Chelsea Scribante. The Scribante family are all here. We've got Silvio with his Lamborghini taking some hot laps. Aldo's competing in the 1 hour endurance. So now what we're going to do is have a little look at the amazing story behind the Scribante family, hearing from the sons and celebrating the amazing man. So have a look at this.
Hi, I'm Aldo Scribante. I'm a driver for Scuderia Scribante.
And I'm Silvio Scribante. I'm also a driver for Scuderia Scribante.
So today we'd like to share a little bit of the family racing history with you, which started back in the 1960s with my grandfather under the same banner, Scuderia Scribante, which we continue with today. In 1960 he acquired a Lotus 7 and he had 2 drivers, Dennis Guscott and Lionel Rowe. I think most of you will remember the surname Rowe. His grandson Daniel, he's a motorsport, SA Volkswagen Motorsport works driver today. Yeah, they raced those Lotus 7s for many years, and in 1965 he acquired a Lotus 21 Climax, which was a 1.5 litre, straight 4-cylinder, and they competed in the local South African championships, mainly local events and some endurance events in Cape Town, as memory recalls. Moving on to 1968, my grandfather acquired a Brabham BT11, 2.8 litre V8 Cosworth motor, and they started to compete in the South African championships with that car, and that's when Dave Charlton started to drive for my grandfather. And this was to be the start of a long, illustrious career together with Dave Charlton. They then competed with the Brabham, and in 1970 to 1971, they bought, my granddad acquired a Lotus 49C, which was a Ford Cosworth V8 powered F1, and they managed to win the South African Championships from 1970 to 1971. Thereafter, 1972, they acquired a Lotus 72D. It's also a Ford Cosworth V8 motor. Managed to secure the championships again in 1972, 1973. And then in 1974, my granddad acquired a McLaren M23. And from 1974 to 1975, they won the SA Formula One championships. So yeah, from 1970 to 1975, it was a 6-year straight run victory for Scuderia Scribante with Dave Charlton at the wheel.
And these are the helmets that they used to race in the Formula One, back in the Formula One days. And I must admit, I don't feel really safe with this in my head. But kudos to them for being brave.
And this helmet here is my granddad's actual Alfa Romeo helmet back in the early 60s, late 50s, when he was racing an Alfa Romeo. That was his actual helmet.
In 1973, Scuderia Scribante, back then was Scribante Construction, built the Aldo Scribante racetrack and started and kicked motorsport into a new level in Port Elizabeth. From then, I'm going to talk about my history of my dad's racing career. He always was interested in getting involved in Formula One, and he had interest to drive for his father, my late grandfather, in the F1 at the time. But due to the dangers involved in F1, that was declined. So his interest was always to be a racing driver, and he then started go-karting, and he won 2 South African championships in the 125cc, and and then he started Aldo and myself into a karting career, which between the two of us, I think we've won about 15 East Cape and Border championships,
Possibly, yeah.
and 5 South African championships. We've competed internationally, and I think we wanted to grow and develop more into racing and not just stay in karting, and we started car racing. We started racing I started racing for Opel Motorsport, competed in numerous levels on classes of motorsport for Opel Motorsport.
In 2016, if I recall, I phoned you and I said, let's have a whiskey. It was December shutdown period. Came round, we had a chat. Terry Moss was selling 2 S4 Audis, and I convinced Silvio that we should buy these cars and use them as track day cars for our clients, which we subsequently did. We purchased the vehicles, had a track day, and had so much fun that we then decided to race these cars at the local regional events. And Silvio said to me, well, he's had lots of track racing. Let's get Dad involved. Dad never had the opportunity. His dad wouldn't allow him to race because of the safety concerns back in the F1 era. So we said to Dad, look here, we've got a surprise for you. We've got 2 cars and you're going to be the one driver and Aldo's going to be the other driver. And he said, okay, well, I'm up for the challenge. So off we went to Aldo Motorsport. We started racing there. My dad managed to win 2 East Cape and Border championships, modified saloons, Class A, 2017 and 2018. I won 2019. But in summary, those 3 years were the best 3 years of our racing memories that we created. And then when was it, 2021, he acquired 2 Lamborghinis, and he said, yeah, boys, let's race the GT3s. And that was a fantastic experience. I'm sure you can comment on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably one of the biggest highlights of my motorsport career, was when my dad said, I've just bought you and your brother Lamborghini Hurricanes. I actually didn't know what to say. It was a very, very special moment, and I'll never forget that moment for as long as I live. And yeah, we ended up racing them.
Yeah,
we won the South African Championship in 2020.
You were South African GT champion in 2022. We joined South African Endurance Series, racing the SA GT Series under the South African Endurance Series. And we were there for 2022 and 2021, 2022 and 2023. So we had a really enjoyable time with South African Endurance Series, and what else is there on the
And then,
career? Carrying on with the nice
my brothers are flying the flag high in the Simola Hill Climb.
We had our best year ever.
This year he won his class. He beat the Nissan GT3 GTRs off the podium for once, and he came third in the King of the Hill.
Through default, they had a bit of bad luck. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you got to take your opportunities when they present it.
And yeah, so Aldo's got big plans for the future of hill climb coming up, and we both run Audis, and we want to do well. We want to compete further in the hill climb championships. We're both very excited about the formula going forward, and
100%.
and we look forward to the next generation of Scuderia Scribante racing.
And there is a fourth generation coming along, believe it or not. His name is Marco. We're teaching him in DD2, 125. It's a paddle shift class. And he's shown great promise and enthusiasm. And we might give him an opportunity in an Audi to start with,
So good, nice chatting to you guys, and we look forward to you on the 1st of June to join us at the SAS 5 Hour.
Yeah, well, wonderful. Right, Brendan Kelly, Mr. Motormouth joining me in studio. It's wonderful to hear the story, hey?
No, absolutely, and it's always just such a privilege to broadcast from here when they're racing, and we get the Lamborghini Hurricanes going around here. They are absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, unfortunately the weather not really playing along at this stage. There's been so much marketing and effort that's gone into putting this event together. So it's a bit of a sad situation at the moment. The official announcement, I've just come from a briefing upstairs, is that they are going to assess the situation every hour. There's a problem, as Wayne mentioned, with the tyre wall. The guys are busy with that. And then there's standing water. There's a French drain system down in the sweep area down from between turns 5 and 6, which is completely saturated. So we've a submersible pump. I mean, as fast as they're pumping the water away there, it's just coming back again. And it has the rain has eased up a little bit, but the forecast still not looking great for racing. But chatting to the drivers up there, there's a whole bunch of them that are dead keen to go out there in these conditions, especially the guys in the BMWs with the rear-wheel drive cars. They want to go out. They've got windscreen wipers. Just having a look at the track at the moment, you see the pools of water forming around the circuit. But yeah, there's such a mixed, there's a divided field amongst the drivers. Obviously, the guys in the Lotus 7s and the open cars, they've got the elements against them. So, and then obviously a couple of the cars don't have windscreen wipers. The Owen Ashley, these supercars and that didn't have windscreen wipers fitted on them. So that's basically ruled them out as well. But as I say, a couple of guys have already thrown in the towel and withdrawn. So it's very much a hurry up and wait game at the moment. As I say, they're going to assess the situation every hour on the hour, and hopefully we'll get out on track in the not too distant future.
Well, the good news is that we're actually going to stay with you because we've got a whole plethora of drivers and stories to share with you through the day. So we are looking forward to this. I mean, it's what we love to do here is hear the motorsport stories. And I just want to come back to the Scribantes, if I can, Brendan, because you were at the Simola Hill Climb.
Yep.
And quite a special moment for the Scribantes. Can you tell us a bit about what happened? Eh?
Yeah, well, and Aldo mentioned it in his interview.
Fortunate.
It was fortunate, but at the end of the day, his name is on the trophy, and it was always going to be an interesting tussle with the big Skylines there, and then Aldo in the mix as well. And he blew us away with his consistency, and he just got quicker and quicker. His takeoffs were absolutely brilliant, and as the guys fell out, he got more and more confident, and it was fantastic to actually celebrate with the team on the podium, because then they obviously won the Dave Charlton team award as well, the
Yes.
Spirit of Dave Charlton Award for team excellence and camaraderie and that. So the way that unfortunately Silvio's car, he battled with it, a purpose built hill car that he imported, which just didn't he just couldn't get the launch control sorted, and they just battled with the car. But they stuck to their guns, and then it all turned around. They were actually standing right next to me at the podium presentation, and they were involved in their own chatter and banter. And didn't even hear that they had been nominated for the award. I had to turn around to the team manager, Byron Teens, and said, Byron, you guys have won the award. Get up there. And it was like total disbelief. But that moment, I've got such a nice photograph of Aldo with the champagne still dripping off his nose, and just that it was. I actually just get goosebumps thinking about it. So the Simola Hill Climb just delivered once again, and I'd still always say, if I get the opportunity, just to encourage anybody with a little bit of love for motorsport to get down there, because it is the premier motorsport event in the country.
Yeah. Well, of course, we are looking forward to hopefully getting another premier event underway. Round 3 of 6 of the South African Endurance Series. Also a celebration of Chelsea Scribante. I just want to mention Aldo yesterday impressed me with his lap times in free practice and qualifying. Look, he's only doing the 1 hour endurance, but he went out and he was well under the minute. I mean, he's running at like 57 seconds at one stage, and I thought, wow, and he is on 4th at the moment on the grid. We're still waiting to see. There are some permutations, and some teams are struggling with that. Might change, but he did, just like the Simola Hill Climb has given him another win or something. Eh?
Yeah, no, but he has put a massive effort in. He's been on a strict training program.
Okay.
He's lost a hell of a lot of weight as well. And he's obviously focused, and you can just see the passion and the drive amongst the guys, and he's so well respected in this area, as was their legendary father, and he just leaves such a massive hole in Algoa Motorsport Club. In the whole setup of it and truly going to be missed going forward.
Yeah, well, of course, this weekend we're celebrating Chelsea Scribante, and we've got some special things coming up a little bit later on. I've actually got one memory I wanted to share of Chelsea. So when SAGT Racing came to Scribante for the first time, Wayne Riddell, CEO, we had them in radio studios, and we were interviewing and talking through. And what we did was we gave 5 radio listeners opportunity to go in the V12, I think it's the Berlinetti, is it? The Ferrari?
Yep.
I believe it is actually at the racetrack today. I'm hoping we get to see it somewhere, locked away. We'll see. But Chelsea took 5 listeners for a hot lap in that car. And one of them, you'll love this, one of them was a lady in her late 70s. I think she's just in her 80s now. It was her dream.
Yep.
She messaged me on radio and she said, my dream is to go in a Ferrari around the track. And of course, we couldn't resist the opportunity. And when we brought her to the track, everyone had to help her. She wasn't walking on her own steam. We helped her climb into the car, and of course, Chelsea, being the gentleman, spoke her up and gave her the confidence, and then he gave it full taps around the track. We came around and thought, well, how is she going to be handling this? And she was smiling ear to ear. When I opened the door to take her out, she didn't want to get out. They were talking and chatting for a couple of minutes, and I just thought, what a special moment, eh?
Yeah, and it was a special moment. I was actually here and witnessed it firsthand, and sorry to say that she actually passed away last week.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so our deepest sympathies go out to Debbie Bartle and Neil Bartle and the whole family. She was an absolute legend, and she enjoyed every single minute of it. And
that moment.
Our deepest sympathies go out to the Bartle family. So a rather sad moment. But going back to Chelsea, he was just such a humble guy, just down to earth, and come to the racetrack and you will find him sitting chatting to people in the pits. I mean, he would always check up on the guys in the regional classes and that, and especially the guys that were new to the sport. He always had a word of advice to them and encouragement, and he just shared so much passion and knowledge for the sport with the competitors. So he, as I said, he will certainly be missed.
Yeah, and I loved he had this thing for young people as well. When he saw a child and I often used to bring my son to the race. He said, "Hey, you come sit in this," and he'd put him
Always
in the
Scribante
Lamborghini or
feature
something.
of
He
Hill
always had
Climb
this
coming
keen
up,
interest
and,
for young people to get connected.
Yeah,
Also,
he's always such a people person and had so much time for everybody,
we want to compete.
and was still
Further
so
in the
active,
Hill Climb Championships,
until
very
the
excited about
disease
Formula.
finally started taking its toll.
Yeah,
But
some
I mean, just
enthusiasm.
the one awards evening, I just remember him stepping up. I think he was 76 at that stage, and just stepping up on the podium in his South African blazer, and
So
just
proud.
just so proud, and gave such a heartwarming speech to the guys, just completely off the cuff. I mean, it was just, I was MC for the event, and said, well, here's a microphone, come and
talk.
and he was just totally off the cuff, and yeah, such a gentleman in so many regards.
Yeah, well, it does lead me to actually just talk a bit about motorsport in the region. If you think about some of the names that have come through this place, and we just mentioned Scribantes, we can talk about the Moss surname.
Yep.
We can talk about Chop Sapuka, one of my close friends. I mean, the stories that they've made, yeah. And I was just absolutely delighted to see Michael Stephen here this
yesterday,
weekend.
yeah.
I mean, probably one of the most successful production car champions in South African motorsport. But it feels like it's healthy, motorsport in this region, despite the economic challenges of the area. You cover a lot of it as under the Motormouth brand. I mean, tell us about the health of motorsport as we see the wind.
See the wind,
Is that a yacht or what is that? Oh, that's the flag.
That's a spinnaker. That's a shot from the harbour by the look of things. But the motorsport, I certainly get around, and it's obviously a passion of mine, and get to cover so many different events and so many forms of racing as well. And I mean, right from karting, the karting side, which is obviously the breeding ground. I mean, we've got competitors, young Sebastian Blichnoot, that's doing fantastic things on the national scene. He's winning nationals on fairly regular occurrence, and Caleb Moss, you mentioned the Moss family. Caleb also doing well, and then the young Moore boys, Josh Moore, that's now stepping up to the Rookie Cup, the Rookie Series as well. So it is healthy. And then with the rally scene as well, I'm very involved in the rally club.
Just had around here at Scribante actually, not too long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago. That was our second round of the championships. We just had the third round up at in the Wolverfontein, Paardepoort area. But the rally scene, and gearing up to the national rally coming up on the 5th and 6th of July, and believed to have close to 40 cars already having confirmed. And while I'm talking rally, just we want to congratulate Rickers Fourie with JJ Portkita, finished first yesterday in the second or the third round of the National Rally Championship. So
Incredible.
That's an absolutely fantastic performance for a local guy to be performing. He's a navigator in the car, but it's a team, definitely a team game. So it's brilliant to see that. And then my passion for motorsport, especially out at Scribante, is just it's once it's in your blood, you can't go back, and you just make so many friends around the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, you give me lots of ideas about all the people I want to invite to join us here. We mentioned Michael Stephen. I mean, he's still very much involved in karting, and of course we are. We've got Henk Latergan here. Henk Latergan racing in the Dakar Rally. I had a quick little chat to him yesterday, so I'll be dying to get a hold of him and bring him in here, talk about rallying and his plans going forward. So, we'll see if we can get Henk to come and join us as well. But just in terms of the rallying scene, we spoke about the round that took place here at Scribante, which is always part of the VW Rally for the years and years. I mean, they used to have a little, one of the stages in here as well. And it seems like the rallying is brought back to sort of the normal man out there. It's become a little bit more affordable. Remember, it was production cars very much in those days, which we love and we miss those days. But it does feel like a little bit more accessible, perhaps, to those who have a little interest in it. Even.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say accessible. There's been a major regrowth in almost your retro type car, the classics, the classic rally cars. Jody van Zoomeren from East London, him and James Johnson in a Datsun Triple S. They are. It is. I mean, that car, the setup it's just the perfectly little balanced car, a little coupe. And you see that thing. I mean, you hear it coming from a mile away, and just the rear wheel drive. I mean, Jody around the circuit at the Scribante rally was fantastic. But that round of the Rally Championships that's held here, it's on the circuit and then off the circuit. A lot of the viewers won't know that there's quite an extensive area at the back of the circuit for dirt, the dirt parts
section,
of
yeah.
it. So, and yeah, it is the best rally that you can go to for a spectator, because at any stage, I mean, while I was out on the stage busy filming, and I was watching 5 different cars on stage,
Wow.
each on a stage of the rally. You just had to turn around,
Awesome.
and there was a car, there was something happening, there was action all over. So next year it looks like it's going to be a regular on the calendar. It keeps everything close by. You're not traveling great distances, and for spectators to come and get up close and personal with the rally cars, it's brilliant, because they're all in the pits here, and you can chat to the guys where it doesn't happen like that
On other stages.
on other rallies. So it is a great event. Yeah.
I mean, talking about Scribante, I mean, we've been coming here for years. I mean, I came as a young man coming to watch races. I was telling some of my co-commentators that I even watched some European truck racing. They did some test session here.
Okay.
Many years ago. I found a photograph of a truck doing a test session here. Drifting, rallying we've mentioned. I mean, you could just think about the cars that come around there. The drags.
The drag scene has sort of tapered off a little bit.
Yes.
There's the popularity amongst the guys is still there, but they just I wouldn't say need a bit of direction, but there just seems to have been a little bit of a hiccup, a speed bump along the way. But they reckon, from the chatting to the drags guys, this is the best circuit in the country. After these Scribantes had resurfaced here for us, it is the best circuit, I mean, in the country for drag racing, or best surface in the country, according to the drivers.
Okay. So one of the other things about the track, one of my earlier memories was, of course, the 4x4 trails that they had set up. In fact, there's 2 4x4 trails inside the track. And I remember in those early days, they used to, I think you paid, I couldn't remember, because you couldn't just take your car there. It's not such an easy 4x4 trail, but you'd actually pay and you'd go along with somebody.
Yeah.
And they'd take you in their 4x4. I mean, that's all still right here in the facility.
Yeah, a lot of it happens at what's that? Crockett's Hope now, at PEOTR, and let's chat with PEOTR. I mean,
oval track racing.
Dirt oval racing is another of my passions,
it's alive and strong.
Absolutely, you don't realize, and I do a lot behind the scenes to encourage people to go and watch. In old days, it used to be very much a boetenswaar kind of jol, but. And that's why I refer to it as dirt oval racing all the time. It's not stock car racing. Stock car racing is something you see on TV, the Indy 500. Those are stock cars. These are dirt oval cars. And there are some serious competitors out there that have got some seriously expensive vehicles as well. And they, the 2 clubs are now working together, Victory Raceway and PEOTR, working together, and I mean, what the regional championship that alternates between the 2 tracks has just merged everybody together and got it to gel, and it's working. It's working. If you've never gone to a dirt oval track, certainly do yourself a favor and go and watch some dirt oval racing. The action is sharp. It's as the one class goes off the circuit, the next class is on the circuit, and it's really some good racing.
Listen, now I'm not revealing my age too much here now, but we used to get on our 50cc Yamaha RZ 50s, and we used to head down to the showgrounds in Port Elizabeth and go watch, oval track racing back there. It was amazing. Like, we didn't want to miss it. As a young 16-year-old on our 50cc going down to watch, it was just amazing. And that was, for me, that was sort of my foundation of motorsport, getting into that. And you can just see the legacy that's continued. And the names and the surnames I still pick up. They've stayed in. It's very much a PE story. I guess it's like this around the country as well. We'll get from Stephen Koenig's point of view, because he's up there north. But for us down here in PE, in good old Gqeberha, the history is so rich.
Yep, absolutely. And down the Western Cape as well, dirt oval racing is massive. Otsu and George. And Bredasdorp, there's big circuits down there, and Weskus as well. So It is, upcountry. They go the tar, the oval tar. It's not dirt oval. They race a lot of tar circuits up there. So it's slightly different, but still the guys, as I say, chuck massive amounts of money at it and provide lots and lots of action. But going back to your story about your 50cc on the I was chatting to Nick Davidson the other day as well, and he just says, as a youngster, him and his mates on their 50s going around the Chelsea Scribante kart circuit.
Yes, yeah.
So and there's another family with a massive racing history, and it's fantastic to have Kelsey in the VW's Super Polo. So just see how she goes this weekend. She's fantastic. She's come along in leaps and bounds.
Yeah, there's so many stories, and we're looking forward to hearing a little bit more about it as well through the day. So just to remind you, the weather is atrocious, but we're hoping to get some racing underway a little bit later on. We're updating hourly from our race stewards, so we'll keep you posted on that. Thank you for joining us. Let's go to some of the stories behind the scenes. Of course, ATS Motorsport, synonymous with the South African Endurance Series. Nadine got to chat to them a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes at these big days. So let's find out.
Let's go. I have the pleasure of sitting with Heinz Berzer to just have a quick chat about his sponsorship with us in the SAES. But before we get to that, Heinz, you started with ATS as a worker and now you're the boss. Can you tell us a bit about your history with ATS and how you got here?
Okay, so what happened is 8 years ago, I closed another company that I used to run, and I joined ATS on the industrial side, where I ran one of the divisions. And then other directors decided to find greener pastures, which they all did, and then some of them are still in the industry. And then we, slowly but surely, I went up in the ranks, as you can call it, and then I was made an offer to work as a sales and marketing director. And our then boss, Richard Leake, who then turned 72, decided, well, he's had enough, and he decided to make it available, which we bought out 2 years ago now. 2 years, we're in the second year, and myself and Mandy Wecker, we own it equally, and it's been great. It's gone from strength to strength, which is, when you walk through the building now, it looks a bit scary because we're in the middle of moving, and it's been an unbelievable journey, and we look forward to what the future holds for us.
Wonderful. Well, Miss, I wish you all the best with the move and being in between buildings, but it doesn't look as bad as what you think.
No.
And tell me, Heinz, what is your guys' relationship with Dunlop?
So it's a very interesting one. So Dunlop, in 1982, with the previous boss, they decided to start importing tires as Dunlop. And then when the companies got bought out with Sumitomo Rubber Industry, that's actually the holding company of Dunlop, which also owns Falcon. That's why you might see a Falcon branded tire on the SAES, but it's the exact same tire. They took over from them, and they started selling tires from 1982. And what's interesting with us is that we actually own the tires. We bring them in via Japan. We take over ownership of them, and then we distribute them. Because one important part that people maybe don't know is that tires are brought in under a rebate permit, where you actually get you don't pay import duties on them, but then you can only have registered competitors. You can only sell it to registered competitors, so we're very strict on that. So on slicks it's quite easy, but on the semi-slicks for that, people don't end up using them on the road.
Okay.
And then basically from 82 it just grew from strength to strength. They used to do motorbikes, but then it was felt that they needed to diversify, and they've given that to somebody else. But on the track racing, we're obviously involved with a lot of series, and that's mainly due to the relationship we've built with the different series, because we as ATS also are part owners in, or we part invested as well, because whatever money Dunlop puts in, we also put in a percentage to help the sport in the long run.
Okay. I feel like the entire motorsport industry's all got the same long-term goal in mind, is just to grow the industry. Okay, so that's the Dunlop tires. And with regards to ATS, what sort of goodies do you supply the racers and the drivers and teams?
So it's actually crazy. We deal with 80 different companies worldwide. So we're basically a massive import company. That's probably what keeps us busy 80% of the time. We make sure that everybody has all the right brake components, has all the right safety equipment, that we are all up to date with all the safety equipment. All our people that work for us know what's going on, that it can advise all the different series and the different people that buy from us to buy the right equipment for their series. For example, also on the fire extinguishers, I mean, you need to have them serviced every 2 years, and you can't send them overseas with a pressurized container. So we do things like that. We've got trained personnel in our company that do that for all the endurance people and all the other competitors. So to give you an idea, at the last Kalame Regional Extreme event, we had 196 cars on our tires. And it was insanely busy, but we got through the day, but it was awesome at the end of the day as well. So yes, we support a lot of series when it comes to that. For example, for all the off-road teams, not only track racing, we also do off-road rallying, some drag racing, and we also definitely also get involved in oval track, which is one of our big growth industries. There's a lot of young drivers coming through from oval track, as maybe if you followed the National Extreme this weekend, Jason Loosemore, I think, get his first overall win after 2 years. So it's incredible to see that talent's coming through from oval track, for example. But yes, as I said, we have 80 brands that we represent in this country solely, and yes, we make sure everybody's got the right equipment at the right time, at the right safety level.
And yeah, and I'm so excited to get my overall. It's in the making. And then the last question I have for you is, being a part of the SAES, what does that entail for you?
So for us, our day starts for our crew, for example, was we provide a tire service. So we basically have a whole crew that travels with us that normally actually also works for us on a permanent basis. And then at the different towns, which is nice, we bring local staff from the local Dunlop regional offices on board, and we give them they work with the race teams on the weekend, and we give them a certificate. So we basically arrive on a Thursday afternoon, and we change, an extreme day, we can change between 200 or 300 tires on the race weekend. At an endurance event, we'll probably do 100, 200 tires on the event, but it takes a lot longer because they're slicks and they need to be balanced. So that's normally, and then we stick around until we're finished and then pack up and normally head home on a Sunday morning like everybody else.
Okay. Well, thank you for being a part of our series, and thank you for having us at your half-empty building today. I'm joking. Yes. And yeah, thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you guys in PE, and like you said, maybe we can come get some snippets of your guys set up there and get some views of the tire changing and how things run.
Excellent.
For our viewers to see.
It's great to be involved with the series, obviously. I mean, makes a lot of sense. Also for Dunlop, if I can just add that in, that they're very happy to be involved because their product is based on longevity, and endurance series really plays into that sort of field that we can showcase the Dunlop product.
Awesome. Well, we're grateful for all of you to be on board. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, ATS Motorsport, I mean, synonymous with the South African Endurance Series, like a one-stop shop. And I reckon if you're interested in maybe in motorsport, Google them and find out a bit more, hey?
Absolutely, and they certainly get around, and their setups at all the circuits around the track, such a well-oiled machine that, and I just you just look at those piles of tires, they're hard just getting them all sorted out. So yeah, great to get that insight into what goes on behind the scenes.
Well, talking of tires, I'm not sure we're going to be warming too many tires because the young bikers have been eager to get out, although we're not sure what's happening with them. So Nadine is chatting to a couple of them down in the pits at the moment.
Superbikes contenders. Tell me something, how are you feeling about today? Unfortunately, a bit of bad weather, so what's the plan? You're hoping to go out still?
Hoping to go out still, very excited still. We come all the way from George, so we prepped the bike to race in the rain, and we're ready to race in the rain. So we can't actually wait to go out. We're excited, and I'm super grateful for these oaks sharing the garage with me from Bright Motorsports. So yeah, very, very keen to ride.
Proper petrol head, eh?
Yes, indeed.
Ready to burn some rubber?
Yes, well, on the wet, maybe not rubber. Yeah. But yeah, I think keep the umbrellas fast, yeah.
Okay, and tell us a bit about your championship. Where are you currently sitting? How many rounds have you guys done so far this year?
So to be honest, I actually don't know where I'm sitting. Probably second or third in the championship now at the moment.
Is the young man that holds the junior lap record around Scribante. It's a 1:16.89
Wow.
for him. And so I've watched his progress, and such a humble but yet confident young guy. And you know, it's one thing that I've installed in these guys, and you know, forced them with interviews. And I'm so glad when I see when I see it happening there. You know, you've often got to drag words out of their mouths, but to see them now on the big stage, getting you know, and just getting more and more confident, and even with the karters as well. It was always one of my bugbears, is that, you know, a guy on the podium, you at least thank your parents or your sponsors and force them from the age of 4 years old. If I was MC at the prize giving, they had to
thank your parents.
Yeah, you've got to say thank you to somebody, and it's nice to see them the rewards now of these guys coming through, because you know, on the there's so many of our young guys that are from karting days that are shaping on the big international scene now. And I mean, just Keegan Masters, another youngster that's basically grown up.
Porsche,
grown up, and I mean, podium finish for him at Monaco this past weekend. And it's great to see. And I put a post of him on the podium at Monaco, and I mean, within 2 days, we've had over, I think last time I checked, it was 260,000 engagements on that on that post on Motormouth. So it's unbelievable, and the support that these guys have got around the country, and Dominic Doyle racing in America as well. You know, it's Cam Peterson. These guys,
amazing people.
Shaping obviously the Van der Lindes, the Van der Linde brothers as well. Lots and lots of talent.
Rich.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's fearless. He's talking about going out there in these kind of conditions. So what you might be wondering, is it getting any better? Well, let's have a look. Right. All right, let's go down to Nadine in the pitches, having loads of fun running up and down. Of course, we're going to be chatting to the Super V guys in the studio in a couple of minutes, but let's see who Nadine's got down in the pits at the moment. Thank you.
The Visser brothers, I've got Charles and Carl here. Charles is not only doing the regional saloons, he's also doing the SAE. But let's first chat to Carl. Carl, tell me about the saloon regionals.
So the Saloon Regionals is a regional series in PE where people nationally can also compete if they have a car that meet the specifications. So I just brought my endurance car here, Polar Cup Shell Super Polar engine, 240 kilowatts, loads of fun, very fast.
And how's it in the wet?
I must say I haven't driven this car in the wet yet. I'm a little scared as the car isn't on specification yet. Solid diff, not limited slip. But I'm excited to go out, go drifting a little bit and see how it performs.
The more sensible brother. Right, now let's talk to the rebel. Charles, yesterday, okay, besides for the saloon regionals, yesterday you did a 56 in the Nova. Tell us how that felt.
Pedal to the metal. No, definitely. It's the first time with the Nova here. Definitely, this is one of the better circuits in my catalog. Definitely love this track. It's definitely a different experience driving a high aero car here at the track like this. We don't have the most rate time speed compared to the GT3 cars, but we surely make up in the infield and on the braking. But excited to see what's going to happen later. As it looks now, it's going to be a wet race. I presume it's still going to be a wet race, but we're still going to do some strategy and maybe tweak a bit on the setup.
And tell me, we know you guys made pole for SAE, but where are you and your brother standing for the saloon racing?
Oh, so we actually had to qualify 8 o'clock this morning. We still haven't qualified yet. The promoters and organizers are still trying to figure out when we're going to go out. At the end of the day, we're only here for fun, my brother and I. So, yeah, we're just going to have fun and see where we can end up.
Okay, and now one more interesting thing is Swartkorps, you set a fast record. I think it was a 54 or something, right?
56.9.
Oh, 56.9. And then yesterday, another record. So you're just breaking records.
Like Michael Schumacher said, records are there to be broken. So hopefully that's the case. But definitely, I mean, with the car being set up as well and having a good team like this is definitely, how can I say, it's definitely not difficult to be on the records. But surely, I definitely do respect the records being put up. And yeah, hopefully we can break it soon.
Watching old Shoal go from a VW to a Nova takes him from a gentleman to a monster. Anyways, good luck, guys. That's the Visser brothers. Let's go back to Stephen and commentary.
And we are sitting next to a new developing class, the Moly Super Vs. I've got Roger and Chanda, one of the pioneers for the new single-seater category, shaking up South Africa. Roger, thank you so much for joining us. And what a day, one that's going to challenge the Super Vs for one, but also what a day out. Race one was so intense battles, but this is what the class is all about. It's about bringing everyone closer to one another and go side-by-side racing with the best of the generations.
Thank you, Stephen, for having me on this broadcast. Yeah, it's really shaken the world in the single-seater category, and I can tell you that it's arousing a lot of interest. The whole idea was to provide an avenue for the youngsters wanting to enter single-seater racing to enter through Super V. It's a fairly inexpensive formula when compared to the other formulas. The car looked modern, with wings, running with semi-slicks, and also the engine development that we've done is we've now made the engine parts and components much more accessible and a much more economical rate. So getting involved in the series is that much more easier.
And there's no differences. We will see like slight body changes here and there as different chassis are utilized, but the core fundamentals all becoming the same, one of their own. Take us through what sort of engines are they actually using, what type of gearboxes, more of the technical aspects of what makes them all the same.
Okay, if we look at the drivetrain, we're looking specifically at the engine component. We're running a standard 1.6 VW Golf motor, which is fairly cheap and can be found anywhere. Then what we've done, we've moved away from carburetors, and we've introduced the fuel injection system, which is the way to go in the modern world of racing. It's much more economical to maintain, much more economical to set up, and again, you can find parts off the shelf anywhere. The gearbox, we're running a VW Beetle gearbox. You can either run the 1500 or the 1600 gearbox. They're fairly robust gearbox. They used on off-road cars like your Sandmasters. They've been tried and tested on single-seaters. They've been tried and tested on also modified cars where they've run over 250 kilowatts of power through that box, and it handles it. So it's a fairly reliable box. That makes the series that much more reliable. It's not complicated technology. It's simple stuff with the 8-valve hydraulic driven head, and with a simple gearbox and robust gearbox like that, you can't go wrong.
Well, that's the thing. It's parts that you can go and find at your local shop, as you had yesterday to go and find it, just a little fuel pump. But we do have Nadine, who is with one of our talented drivers that has also come through the world of single-seaters and in production cars, go-karting and so much more, down in Nadine with the pits, and Michael Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen. So I'm here with Michael Stevens, our local PE motorsport hero, as well as our 2023 one-hour dash SAGT champion. Michael, so it's your first time back with us this year. What have you been up to besides getting married?
Yeah, pretty much not much racing. It took a bit of time off this year, family time, got married, so life's all good. And yeah, I got a fantastic opportunity thanks to Nick Adcock. I got a call about a week and a half ago. Obviously, Michael couldn't make it and asked if I want to come and join home track, so big thanks to him. And don't quite know if we're going to get going, but yesterday was an absolutely fantastic day. And, if that's all we got for the weekend, that's enough.
Well, first of all, congratulations on tying the knot. And then secondly, both you and Charles Visser broke records yesterday with both 56s.
Yeah, I mean, Charles drove brilliantly yesterday. I think he did a 56.3 in qualifying. I did a 56.4. It shows the potential of the car. And I think if we both went again, we would probably, hope to dip into the 55s. Every time we drive the car, it just gives you more confidence to push a little bit more. But yeah, that was fantastic. And we hope we can turn that into some race time today. And it doesn't look very promising at the moment unless you've got a boat. But hopefully we can get out there and, get racing.
And tell me, besides for today, are there any other races we can check you out at, or what's your plan for the rest of the year with regards to motorsport?
Yeah, at this stage it was just a once-off for PE. We go from there and see what comes along.
Okay, cool. Well, there you have it from Michael Steven. Let's go back to Steve in commentary.
Oh, thank you, Nadine. Absolutely tremendous stuff hearing from Michael Steven. Raj, we were chatting about how these cars have been developing over time, making them what they are now, and also just the interest coming in. The modern take, why? What was the reasoning to go, let's just modernize what we've got and try and move it into a different realm of the sport?
The future of motorsport lies with the youngsters. They want to see a car that looks racy. Putting on wings, making the cars a little bit more modern with the engine technology, I think attracts a lot of attention. And as a result, we've had a number of inquiries from karters about wanting to join the series. And I can tell you that when you ask the question, why not any other single-seater for a series, why us? And they say the cars look nice, it's affordable, and it looks the part on track. Now, I must admit, if you look at the cars on track, especially when they're going side by side through corners and when they're going nose to tail, they look like proper race cars, and they handle like proper race cars. Yesterday was a classic example in race 1. We had 2 drivers that were fighting for first position right from lap 1, and they trusted each other. They went through corners side by side, they went nose to tail, they had overtaking maneuvers, but racing was clean and safe, and that's what we want to encourage in our series. Clean racing, do it for the sport, and make sure you bring the cars home, because you don't want tears at the end of the day. So yeah, we're designing the cars in that way so that it can be handled easily and bring more attention to the series and get the series going. And I can tell you, in a year, the series has grown phenomenally.
Tremendous stuff. But we also do have so much coming on. You've got plenty of racing. Your son is racing as well, looking to go for the championship after getting usurped at SWAT Corps. But Raj, thank you so much for going and joining us here in the commentary, giving us a bit of an inside look from a technical aspect of what is the Liqui Moly Super Vs, and we can't wait to see how it's all going to progress in the future. You've now joined the series full time, so it's going to be an incredible story, plenty on the grid, and more to come. So thank you very much, Raj. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephen. And I just want to say to all future single-seater racers, please look into the formula. Come join us. We have lots of fun. We get on like a family. We help each other along. Good example was yesterday. We helped each other. Thanks again, Stephen, for having us on your broadcast.
That's going to be incredible stuff. Well, let's go to Nadine in the pits. She is having a chat to a couple of the drivers.
Thanks, Stephen. I'm here with Freddie Pretorius. Now, Freddie's got quite a big job at the track here. Well, at every track. Yeah. He helps Promogen, Calix, and he's got bucket list on his plate. So yesterday, something interesting happened. One of our drivers, a 16-year-old Ryan Naka, ended up on top of a tire barrier. Do you want to tell us what happened there?
Yeah, it was an unfortunate thing that happened. As he went into the hairpin, he got onto the brakes and for some reason he had some brake failure and ended up, obviously, the tires came under the car and then lifted the car up. Luckily for us, because it sort of dampened the crash a little bit. So we had a bumper and a splitter issue, but we sort of fixed it and yeah, they're ready to race now.
Awesome. And as far as I understand, it's Ryan Nika's first time as well doing endurance.
Yeah, his dad obviously bought him the GT4 Audi. Yes. So he's also racing in the 86 Cup. So it's all training, getting him comfortable in the car. The plan is for them to carry on for the whole season doing the enduro races. So yeah, it's like a lighty 16 years old driving a GT4 Audi.
Another hot young talent that is driving alongside Ryan is your son Anthony, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, we were lucky enough that Ryan's dad offered us a seat next to him. Obviously a little bit to help Ryan as well with some training. Anthony is currently driving in the GTC, SATC championship. So it's good for him. Our next stop is at PE, so he gets some track time, learn the track. So yeah, no, it's good for him.
Awesome. Well, those are definitely two names to watch out with our young talent. That's Ryan Nike and Anthony Pretorius. And the Audi car number, I think it's 86 or 83, 88?
93.
93. Look out for car number 93. Hopefully they won't be ramping any tires this weekend again. But yeah, we're wishing you guys all the best with all three of your teams that you're helping.
Okay, no, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Freddie. Let's go back to Stephen in studio.
Thanks, Nadine. Ramping tires could be interesting, huh?
Well, we've seen it. It's happened, and that is actually part of the reason of the delay today.
Yeah.
But safety comes first. Got to make sure it's all okay. Congratulations to the team putting the car back together. Both you and I were looking at that Audi R8 going, well, that's not in one piece anymore. And thankfully, they were able to get it up and going. But ultimately, let's see what it can do for 5 hours of Aldo Scribante in these challenging conditions.
Okay, so just looking weather-wise, it's difficult to predict, but it seems like we could be having a little bit less rain and wind over the next few hours, which might give us a good start, but we do have some more predicted for later. It's difficult to really talk too much about the weather because it's changing so quickly, and it is coming off the ocean, so we're not getting too much of a view of the conditions that are sort of blowing in. But there we go. You can see on our screen, on the pictures there, it is still very much windy, wind coming at about 45, 60 degrees, and making for some interesting conditions. So where we are right now is we are sort of just waiting to see what the weather's going to do. We're busy repairing that barrier, and we are still all set, though, for our 5 hours of Aldo Scribante to get underway at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
And also our Moly Super V is also chomping at the bit, wanting to go out. Not afraid of these conditions, want to really show off what they can do. And why we love single-seaters, everyone says, but you've got to be silly. You can't have a brain to go out in a single-seater in these conditions. Well, we don't buy single-seaters because we have brains. It's because we have fun. So really looking forward to seeing what they can do for race 2 and 3 coming up later today as well.
Yeah, no, aren't they like baths? I mean, aren't they going to get full of water? Are there holes at the bottom of these things?
Well, it's literally just a frame with a bodywork on it. So there's a couple of places where the water can go out. But unfortunately, if you're in a standing start, it does get a bit wet underneath the seat.
And what about a visor? I mean, the rain hitting you 60 degrees. How are you going to clear that one?
That's part of the fun. You actually, one of the things that we will see both in our V8 Roadster class or any of the open cockpits is they lift the visor slightly up. They put a little bit of tape at the bottom of it. Just gives it a little bit of a lip, and it stops the mist from coming in as a problem.
All right, so one of the big stories, of course, is Moly Motorsport yesterday. The beautiful Mercedes. Fans were super keen to see it. Unfortunately, we mentioned earlier, is out. But Charles Arangis, as always, they make a plan like they did Kyalami towards the end of last year. They have brought another car, and it looks like they are going to be able to take part. So Nadine is down with Charles at the moment. Let's hear from her.
Thanks, Gareth. Here with Simola Rangis. As we all were very disappointed yesterday when we saw that very beautiful car get very hurt. Do you want to tell us what went wrong with your AMG Mercedes?
Yeah, we had a bit of a driveline failure. The one part that we literally don't have. Spare gearbox, everything is here, but yeah, it's input shaft, unfortunately. Small little part, probably the cheapest part of the whole drivetrain, and yeah, we unfortunately didn't have it, or don't have it. But yeah, looking at the weather, probably not the worst thing that could have happened, to be quite honest. You know, it's really pouring down here in PE. So, yeah, I wonder, well, let's see if this race is actually even going to happen. We would have been out with the Porsche. I'm racing in the regionals this weekend, coming to support the regional championship down here, and then the 1 hour as well in the 5 hours. So, hopefully we can get some driving going. But if not, it's been a fun weekend so far, so yeah.
Well, it's always lovely to have you guys, and welcome back to the series. I know you were out for the first 2 rounds because you had an operation on your knees, correct?
Yes, yeah. Athletics and rugby definitely took its toll. But in any case, we're back for the full championship now. So, we'll be back at, what's it next, Kailami. Yeah, so then we're obviously going to be gunning for that elusive win there.
Yeah, and if I remember, it was the last time when we raced at Kailami, you guys took the win.
Well, we took the championship. That's exactly it. So, this time we really want to try and go for a win, obviously. But yeah, this championship is getting so competitive now, and everybody's getting so quick. So, yeah, I think myself and Ari will really have to pick up the pace a bit. But yeah, I think this weekend we showed what we have. We definitely were up there. Definitely were gunning for a top spot in qualifying. So yeah, but more than that, it's good to be back and looking forward to the rest of the championship.
Awesome, I look forward to with you, and don't worry, I won't climb on your car again like I did at Kailami last time. Sorry about that.
No worry. That's all good. She's strong.
Thanks, Charles. Let's go back to the guys in commentary.
Thanks, Nadine. Well, that's the first that we've heard from the drivers saying, is this going to happen? Well, have got the shots here out on the track. We're looking more like we're out in the ocean, but we are waiting to see if this weather can pass a little bit. So, in what conditions will we race? I mean, certainly the rain is not the end of the world. We can clear some puddles, but maybe just a little bit lighter, Steve?
So what will happen is it will be declared a wet race, obviously because water's on track.
Which everybody set up for and was prepared for.
That's it. You're allowed to use wet weather tyres and get racing. So we will see the cars go out onto the circuit. It's up to the drivers to take it a little bit more safely once the barrier is repaired. Yes, the gusty winds will become a little bit of an issue to try and drive incredibly quick with, but that is now up for the teams and drivers to sort out the setups, do whatever tinkering that needs to be done, and just try and make your way around the track. The main thing that you want to do is go on the green and end on the checkered. You don't want to be the reason for a safety car. You don't want to have your car in the wall. But I do think going and missing out it's not going to happen. As we've heard, the racing will go for our 5 hours of Aldo Scribante. We do know that our Moly Super Vs are chomping at the bit. They want to go out. Yeah. And I do know a couple of the regional drivers that are rear-wheel driven want to get out on the track. They're saying, we're not too concerned with these conditions. We can power our way through. And a little bit of wind hasn't hurt anyone. We don't have our hairs getting messed up, so it's fine.
And nothing clears a track quite like having cars on it as well, of course.
Yes, it displaces all the water that's on the apexes. So the more cars on the circuit, the more the water is displaced, thrown off to the edges. That makes the track get better. So ideally, you want cars to go out. The heavier, the better. The motorbikes, unfortunately, are going to have a little bit more of a tough time. They alter their riding lines to ensure that they can get round. And as we heard from the youngsters, they're also rearing at the bit to go. I mean, you came to a race day. You want to get going. So we're going to see how it works out there. So I'm not quite sure how everything is going to go and who's going to be able to push themselves to the top. Our front runners, though, that all the high aero vehicles, they're going to be looking at the gusty winds, trying to figure out what needs to change on their cars specifically to ensure that it doesn't get too loose.
Right, it's 10:30 now, so we are a couple of hours away before the start of the 5 hours of Aldo Scribante, still on track for 4 o'clock. What we're going to do now is we're going to go look back at yesterday's dry running for qualifying. Now, from the previous rounds, there'd been a request from the drivers to actually have all the drivers qualify. So what we'd seen before, Steve, was actually the fastest guy went out in a sort of a period of time, and whoever set the fastest lap, that was your grid position. So the drivers were saying, why don't we let all the drivers go out and then we'll take the average time. So that was sort of agreed upon. But then from the early running on Friday, what we saw is that the fast cars were just simply too fast, 56, 57s, and some of your backdraft roadsters were 107s, 108s, and we're just feeling it was a bit too dangerous. In fact, it was at that time that we had one of the Audis in the B class actually go off, and so a decision was made. They called all the drivers, which is really amazing to see. There's this connection, there's this interaction. It's saying, what's the best for the sport? And so we are now going to go into the qualifying that took place yesterday. So just to remind you, there are 3 sessions in 2 different classes. So we're going to have class C, D, and E. They're going to go out first. There are 3 sessions, so each driver will have an opportunity to go out. And this was, of course, what took place yesterday. And then once they're finished, we'll go to Class A and Class B. So this is what went down yesterday here at Aldo Scribante. It was the qualifying session for the 5 hours of Aldo Scribante, all set for a 4 o'clock start today. Let's have a look. Some of the talk that was happening from the Swartkops round was, let's give every driver maybe an opportunity to put in a qualifying lap, and we'll take the best or the average time between the drivers. So some teams have arrived here with 2 drivers, some with 3 drivers. We'd look at the Adjust for Sleep Rico Bala Racing Nova that won in dramatic fashion in Swartkops. They've got Nick Adcock, Charles Visser, who set the lap record around Swartkops last time out, and they've thrown in Michael Stephen. And so they're going to have to do 3 laps and then the average time. But now we've changed it again, because what we've seen from the early runs here on Friday is that unfortunately your C, D, and E class are just simply not quick enough for the A and B class. And so we think it's a little bit too dangerous. So in fact, the drivers have all met, the managers, and that's why what you see on the screen now is the backdraft roadsters, the Class E. We've got some of our C and D classes, and they're going to be all going out together. And they've got 25 minutes to give each one of their drivers an opportunity to set their fastest lap. And if you've got 2 drivers or 3 drivers, they'll each get a chance in that 25 minutes, take their best 3 times from each driver, and that'll be the time that you set for qualifying. So that's what we're going to start with.
Yeah. This, if you work it out, is essentially an out lap, a hot lap, an in lap, and then you've got to get going, because you want to try and get that driver change. So if you've got 3 drivers, this is all about getting as much heat as you can when you get out and get into clear air as quick as possible, because you will battle, and the last thing you want to do is lose that 0.1 of a second just because you didn't make it out the pits in time.
Right, just before we go through the contenders, just a wider view there, you can see we've had overcast conditions for most of today. The sun's been out, so you can see the track is dry. Rain was forecast for today. That hasn't come through yet, or precipitated if you like. And there is rain forecast for 9 o'clock tonight, and we are expecting rain tomorrow, but anything can happen. So take the weather aside, it's certainly cooler out there. We've seen in the Super V race a little bit earlier on that the guys just struggled to get their tyres up to temperature. So, Steve, why don't you run us through the classes that we're talking about now, C, D, and E, and who are the contenders? Of course, here's one that we're familiar with, the 262, the Pesty Racing that had a fantastic outing, dramatic outing in Swartkops. One to keep an eye out for.
So up front we got our backdraft roadsters. That is the Pesty Racing. You can go and see it's almost got that Cobra-ish type shape, but that is a backdraft roadster, part of our national V8 Roadster Championship, and that is being led out by the People Group and Adept. And you'll notice they have big pandas all over the car, the number 23. Second to that, we'll have backdraft racing of Chaba Msheko and Dan Hirsch. They're falling a little bit back. But we also do have
the BMW there.
Our Class D.
Yeah,
having a bit of fun now.
Yeah, so in Class C, in fact, the Coastal Engineering supplies BMW that you see there. You'll see on your screen they're setting the fastest lap. Well, that's because they're in a different class here. They're up against the VW Calyx with Kari Hill and Yuri Swart. We haven't seen them out yet on track, but that's the battle that's happening in Class C. That BMW that you see there, and then the VW. Now, we were chatting to Kari a little bit earlier on. They were having some misfire and problems in the car. Might not actually see them come out in qualifying. So There was even talk that they might not even come out at all, so we're going to keep an eye on that. So that's the BMW in Class C, the 76. Just to confirm, and just to help you understand for those viewing from around the world, that BMW is not racing against that. There we saw the Calyx going through ahead. But these backdraft roadsters, they're in Class E, they're in their own national championship, so you'll see them all battling against each other in their own titles. So here comes the Pesty Racing now, coming through for another lap. Let's see what we can pull through on the times now.
Well, he went and did a 109.6 on his previous lap, so can he improve that to put himself into first place? But I mean, just take a look at Hanetas in the BMW going and doing a 109.2 as his quickest lap time, 109.265, and Pretorius was only able to do a 109.4, so very, very close in lap times. Despite being two different classes,
yeah.
You still have a little bit of a weight coming in. That E36 BMW is still quite heavy compared to the V8 Roadsters, where they've got monumental power underneath them. They've got the big V8 that drags them along down the straights, which is more beneficial, but in turn, they do become very pointy.
Yeah, we'll of course go through the track as well. They make their way now to the hairpin up at the top of the track. Then it's the big left sweep towards the final corner, which has been known as Dunlop, before heading into the main straight. So one of the spectator-friendly spots here at Aldo Scribante. You can just see such stunning viewing spots for the fans. The BMW looks like he's set his best time. Looks like he might be slowing down a little bit. Corey Hill goes quickest there now. Is that right? The AT1 now setting a lap time.
A 107.046, so not hanging around. But remember, they have to get every single one of their drivers,
there we go,
whether they got 2 or 3 in the car, each have to do a lap.
Now, it's just impressive from Corey, because they've been struggling with that car all day. They've hardly had any lap time. She climbs into it and straight away a 107, which is mighty impressive from the young driver.
Driven in anger, that is for certain. If it's going to let go, it's going to get let go in spectacular fashion. But after she had a huge amount of fun a little bit earlier on Friday, going and driving in Dad's GT3 car, she's looking to go and power her way through with Yuri Piswat.
Yeah, in screen now, Lonika Martins, they're just going through. That was towards the hairpin, and one of our 2 lady drivers in the field. Right, here's that VW mentioned, Corey Hill. And this time out to 106.07 now, even faster. Cora really warming up, and she said that car is fast around here, maybe even a bit too fast out the corner. So she was talking about how she's been so hungry to. In fact, we must just tell her that she's got an Aston Martin here this weekend that she's been driving around the track. So I can understand why she's hungry to get going, because she's got the need for speed.
But the car's nickname of Hero is definitely showing what it can do, being the hero that everyone deserves. That 106 being the quick lap time that they're going to keep trying to push themselves that little bit harder. But Bono Pretorius puts himself into second place with a 109.2, which means he's the fastest V8 Roadster that's currently out on track. So going and stepping up the game a little bit more, just to get that little bit more pace underneath them, ahead of Lonika Martins, who is now
not far off.
Lonika is actually teaming up with a new driver of the likes of Boerta Okam, who has come into the series and recently got his nations to come racing, but looks like Corey Hill may want to pull in the pits, because she was going to switch out to Yuri Swart, and keeping it tight.
No, she looks like she's giving it one more go. Yeah, just one more lap there for Corey Hill. This is, of course, in Class C. So we've got C at the moment, the BMW, and this Calyx VW. Class D has got the Corridas VW. We haven't seen the 111 out yet. And then we've got the big field of 9 backdraft roadsters with their open top in the field. So we've seen at the moment there that it is Baron Pretorius in the Pesty Racing number 262. That's quickest at the moment, but that might be impressive for now. But Baron Pretorius still needs to get in that car and set a time to confirm where they will be on the starting grid.
It's going to be a hard push, but Cara looking to make up some time. Remember, going back to Swartkorp's Hero did not finish the race. This time they are making dead sure that the car is going to cross a line. And Pesty Racing, who is currently running in second place, is one of the cars that have been battling all themselves sorted. Now they're going to have to push themselves a little bit more out.
Second drive. Just a quick look. You can see in the distance there some of the hills in the background of Nelson Mandela Bay, and I've been saying I'm a local here. If you can't see those hills, then you know the rain's coming for the direction of wind that we've got today. So you can see it seems to be holding off, which means dry qualifying for all of our drivers. That's what we were hoping for. Just to mention that we are going to have night practice tonight for each of the teams That's not going to be with us on live streaming, but it's going to give them a chance to familiarize themselves with the conditions. Remember, tomorrow we start at 4 p.m. It's already getting dark at that time, and we're finishing under the floodlights here at Aldo Scribante.
Brake markers tend to disappear. Everything disappears. Nighttime is no joke, so everyone just soaking up the last little bit of light for their qualifying. But the pressure is mounted on every single one of these drivers. And now we're going to start looking at who's the averages, who's going to be able to get themselves up. So now let's see who the teams are that are closer together. Okay,
so here we go. Let's just quickly follow here. This is now into the final corner, the Dunlop. It's quite a long right turn. You want to find where to get on the power. If you get on too quickly, you can quickly lose it. But here we go, down the main straight. Let's see if we can stay with the car and hopefully just run over 200 km per hour. Finding, you can see the braking markers on the side. You don't want to go over the track. You can flick the weight of the car onto the left. Spectators will be poured along the side here. Now it's flat out into the hangar. So you'll see now it'll be the sweep. You can see it's on this level. You don't quite see it there. There's a little drop onto the sweep now. This is flat out for these cars. If you lose your grip here, you can quickly end up in the tire barrier. They go over a bridge here. You don't know this from watching, but there's a little bridge that you've got to go over. That's how we get to the inside of the track. Oh, make your braking markers. Here's the long final corner there. The Dunlop, also a great.
And that is Dan Hirsch going and putting in a lap time, trying to get a little bit more underneath his belt and hoping that he can keep the momentum going after getting the car handed over to him. And radioing in of, was that a good lap time? A 1:11.6 as his lap time, and then you've got Rodriguez right behind him doing a 1:19.2, so a little bit slow, a little bit slower on his out lap. So
there's Nadine trying to see what's happening down in the pits. We'll see if we can find out what all the excitement is. But just to mention that is now heading down through the hangar. So there'll be different paces here. Some of them will be, of course, starting to build up their pace. Remember, they've got a short little window now where they've got to set their best lap. And some of the teams have got 3 drivers will have a final session as well. So yeah, some cars up at full speed, others now just building up. And it's still Arne van Heerden who is leading the way.
I do think that the class, the V8 Roadsters, are going to be closer in times, especially with the People Group and Adams. They have gone and held the Index Performance of Championship currently for 20 to favor their times in qualifying because it works on averages. So let's see how it's going to work out.
New for us, but I managed to qualify second. Yeah, on my quick lap I had a bit of a problem with one of my rivalries that we always have a bit of a dice. So it just maybe got a bit in the way and I lost the quick lap. Otherwise that would have been P1 by far, but that's racing. 5 hours is a long way.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Well, we wish you everything of the best and hope to see a smile on that face as well.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let's go back to commentary.
Great to see Lonica Martins happy there. So that was what the commotion was about. She was disappointed that she didn't get the quickest lap that she wanted. I just showed you how.
Now she is relying purely on her teammate, Porto Okup, who is currently running in 8th position with a 1:13.4 as his quickest lap time. So he needs to try that out. Richard van Heerden currently leading out the top. There's number 31 car that is going and walking away from a lot of the competition, doing a 1:09.2. Dean Wilson, who we see currently out on track, number 23, People and Adab Group doing a 1:09.6. So getting a little bit closer there.
Yeah.
And going down the field, everyone only able to get into those 1:10s and 1:11. So it is getting broken up quite a bit, but traffic is going to be a little bit more of a concern.
22 seconds left in this qualifying session. You might be saying, where's the Calyx? Where's the BMW? Well, of course, there are 3 sessions, so with 2 drivers, we'll see them coming up in the final session. So they're making the most of this middle session now just to prep, get ready, making a change. You can see the Calyx waiting at the end of the pits. But here we go. This is coming towards the end of the session, and it's Dean Wilson. There we go. No surprise to see the 23 putting it fastest in this session. So it looks like trying to get maybe 1 more lap in. So just a few less cars in this second qualifying. We know that basically everyone will be out in the third because you've got to at least have 2 of your drivers qualifying.
Oh, Richard van Heerden is going and denying that fact.
There we go.
He puts a 1:09.1 to just go and break it up. And a little bit of a rivalry in that, but remember, this works on the average. So you go and take the fastest lap time of each of the drivers and then divide it by the number of drivers that are within the team. That brings me to the next one. how many drivers are going to be in the final run, because we've got essentially only who's got 3 drivers in the next run, or in the case of the Calyx machine, they're going to be having that little bit of time off. Maybe the grid's a little bit smaller, a little bit more space, or maybe everyone else had the same idea.
Right, checkered flags out. You can see one of the backdraft roadsters with his hand up. He's actually diving into the pits there. It's an interesting entrance to the pits here at Scribante, because you've really got to slow down. There's a sort of like a little S-kink. There's sometimes spectators there. The marshals are right close by, so it's a really slow down to come into the pits, which is going to be very interesting with this fast cars coming down the main straight in the 5 hours race.
Well, they have to go and slow it right down to 40 kilometers an hour, and
40,
that is going to be testing the brakes of all these vehicles. You've got to be wide awake, especially when it gets a little bit darker.
Yeah. So also I want to mention here that because we've now changed the qualifying format, we're all adjusting a little bit now to this new format. So it'll give us some time now, but we've got one more session to come. Then there'll be a 5-minute break. We'll run through, if we can, the results from this first qualifying. This is for Class C, D, and E. So we'll get some clarity on that in this next session. Then it's a 5-minute break. Then we bring out the big boys, Class A and Class B. We've got 8 super fast cars in Class A and 3 just as quick cars in Class B. So we're going to have 11 monsters on the track. Plus Aldo Scribante, who's doing the 1-hour dash, part of the memorial race this weekend and celebration. He'll be there. So it's going to be 12 cars on the in the final qualifying session. Let me just remind you, for race fans around the world, we've got the Moly Motorsport Mercedes is here, first race for the season. We've got the beautiful BBR Racing Porsche, winner of the opening round. We've got the Nova, which won round 2 out at Zwartkops. We've got the Inter-Africa Lamborghini Hurricane, who have had such ups and downs so far this season. The Promogen Audi, who came so close to winning in the opening round at Red Star and then had disappointment at Zwartkops. We've got the Backdraft Racing Slingshot, which always has drama. They've had more drama today. We'll tell you about that later on. The MJR Audi is here as well with Maurice Jackson and Joseph Ellery. And then we've got a very special Toyota. Well, it's a Lexus body with the Toyota V8 engine racing for Sphere Motorsport in Class A. In Class B, we've got the Backdraft number 3. A very cute little hardtop pink Backdraft racing car. We've got the Bucket List Racing Audi that went off in free practice. Ryan Nyka, unfortunately, brakes failing out at the hairpin, going straight into the barrier. And then we've got the G&H Transport Audi R8 as well. Aldo Scribante then in the Lamborghini as well. So, what a lineup we have. You're not going to want to go anywhere. 12 cars qualifying, looking for a best starting position in really unknown conditions for tomorrow afternoon. That's still to come. But here we go. This is the final session now for qualifying. Just on 6 minutes to go here to decide who's going to be on pole in Class C, D, and of course Class E, the Backdraft Roadsters, 2 on the screen. You can see right now they're just coming out the pits, finding position. You can see that 23 wants to get past. He wants to be in front.
Well, the time to go for Mark Harvey did a 110.1, and he was the first driver out. That put him 7th currently. Then you have got his teammate that went out for drive 2, was putting in some really good lap times. Dean Wilson was in 2nd place on the last one, doing a 109.2. So really there's a break up in time. And now it's all sitting on the 3rd driver, but it's the same as Richard van Heerden. He was out in the 31 car, put in the fastest lap time, but his teammate wasn't able to get that. So for the same as Cara Hill, she managed to do a 106.0. Now Yuri has to get the same time, if not a little bit better.
All right, well, Yuri Swart is out in the Calyx, but our eyes are on the 23 there, going through the championship leader, and this then coming in the number 10. They got the red number because they are the current champions. So from last year, although it wasn't an official championship, they won last year's championship in the number 10.
Yeah, it wasn't a national championship.
National championship.
It wasn't a national championship, but it was still a championship that was recognized by Motorsport South Africa. This time, though, going and wearing the crown, having to try and improve. But we also had
in the way.
A little bit of a late moment under braking.
Oh, and that's naughty from Corridors, the 111, because they're not on a hot lap. They needed to actually get out the way because these roadsters here, the 23, was on a hot lap and had to sort of swerve out the way and not taking the ideal racing line. Yeah, they go through the sweep now. This is a stunning part of the track to watch. Park your car there. You see the cars coming at full speed. Look for the braking spot. You can see the markers on the side. and then this long right turn. Wait for the right moment. Wait before you put down the gas, and then you throw it down into the main straight.
It's got a very late apex
Yeah,
on the way
very
out.
late.
And apparently also with the bumper, goes and unsettles even the V8 Roadsters, where they come out and they say the steering just lightens up underneath them, and you feel like the rear wants to step out underneath you, so you got to be wide awake just in case. But everyone having to push themselves a little bit harder. Looking at the lap times though, Yuri Swart a 106.04,
the Calyx,
which
yeah,
is
good.
faster than Cara Hill, so they're going to be happy with it. Number 23 though, a 110.9, so still a little bit up there, closer to their first driver, not quite to their second driver.
Right through the hangar, then back out to the top of the track there. This is the hairpin. Look for your braking spot. We'll see lots of overtaking through the 5 hours of Scribante. You can get it wrong out of this corner. You can put down the gas too quickly and actually lose the back end. You go down this little hill and then full throttle through the sweep. And there we go to the final corner. Dunlop now looking for your braking point. The 23 looking to go even quicker now with just on 3 minutes to go here in the final qualifying session. Remember, the AT1 Yuri Swart's Calyx is in a different class, looking to finish ahead of the BMW in Class C. They are the current championship leader. They've had lots of problems with that car as the 23 comes through now. So, right, let's see what we can pick up here. Race times now from our top riders. Drivers as they come through there. There's the 23, and Yuri Swart just does a 105.8. Philip Mayer going through there in a 110. And why is the Pesty Racing not out?
No, that is the Fabian Lancer car that is parked off on the side there. So they've gone out for driver 1, driver 2 instead of driver 3. So that's going to be helpful. But we do see our couple of cars, that is our Class B and our Class A's getting ready to go out. This is the...
Okay, they're just pulling it out here to put it in place. They're not actually going to be competing right now. They're going to come up in the next session. But interesting to see that Roadster, the orange one just ahead of them, that they're not out at the moment. So yeah, you can see, look at these are the contenders. There's the Slingshot 2.0. They've had an incredible season. We've got so many stories to tell you. Not only about the troubles they've had today, but about that rear wing. That rear wing is going to go down as one of the legendary stories of South African motorsport, because at the last round, that car there has had I mean, it's hard to can't even believe the stories that we're talking about here, but they towed that car from Durban, I think it was, up to Swartkops, and they kept the rear wing on it, but because that rear wing does so much downforce, it was actually slowing them down and causing some problems for them towing, so they removed the rear wing, arrived to the track how many minutes before qualifying?
I would say about less than 10 minutes, but I do want to go and really throw a spanner in the works of your story there, because that's a brand new rear body. So that's not the same rear as what you saw at Swartkops as well, because they've just modified it.
Yeah, but then of course they started, because they were so late, because they had to remove the rear wing, they arrived at qualifying, didn't have time to put it on, so they qualified without a rear wing. And at one point we're even potentially in the race victory contention in the event, you know, so just amazing. Anyway, let's come back to Class E. Yeah, this is the 23, still putting in some stunning times and looking really good, maybe to take the pole in the Class E, the V8 Roadster Championship.
Well, looking at the lap times though, got a 109.8, so a little bit closer to driver 2 and a little bit further away from driver 1. So the people Adapt group is really trying to dial in, and they're currently leading the index of performance for the entire series. So having the drivers a bit closer, this works out. This new style of qualifying works out, but the rear not working out there.
Nah, I saw the smile through the helmet there. He was loving it, absolutely loving it, putting it through there. Why not? He's already put in a quick time and just enjoying being out at this iconic racetrack. So you see on our timing there, Yuri Swart, of course, he's in Class C. The Calyx VW comfortably ahead, and should be. We've got Mayer, then the number 23 that you see on screen there, the fastest in this session. What I am looking for is, where is the BMW? I didn't recall seeing a second session, although we didn't see all of the cars on the screen, but it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out in Class C, D, and E. But here comes the 23 around for one more time. Let's see if we can just improve on his time of 109.8. Here he comes through the finish line now. Let's see what he picks up.
And that would be a 110.6. So
110.6,
not
okay.
able to improve it with a bit of a tank slapper. Fully understandable.
Yeah.
Rather go and just take a deep breath. It got a little bit close there. Rear tires need a bit of work, but ultimately some good lap times for them. Very close between the drivers, but that does also leave the question of, like Yuri Swart, how much of a gap has he put over Kari's Hill? And that will be a calculated average that may move them a little bit further down the field than planned. So it's not about how fast you can get out on the circuit. It's now working as a team to set that average lap time.
Right, so if you're just joining us, that is the qualifying session done and dusted now for Class C, D and E. E-Class, of course, all these open-top backdraft roadsters. The teams that had 3 drivers had to participate in each of the 3 sessions, 2 driver teams in any of the 3 sessions, some of them taking the first and second, some of them taking the first and the third. Now, there's lots of calculations going on here and trying to see who's going to be on pole. Right, here we go. Okay, so talk us through this here. This is now the 3 teams together, and it looks like, no surprise there, Yuri Swart and Kari Hill are the quickest in the Class C. That's the Calix VW, but there we go, number 23 now in second place. That's going to be the 23 backdraft roadster. That's going to be the quickest in Class E.
Now that's going to be the people group, and Adapt has put him himself in second. Then you've got Mark Owens and Naidu.
The 169 is going to be then in second place. Then CJ Blackman, who is the current champion from last season. They're going to be starting third in class, fourth. You can see, remember that the number 1 car is in a separate class here. And then Campos, Rodriguez and Martins, they are in the 111 car, finishing in class D. So just to remind you, we've changed the qualifying, partly because Stuart White went out just in the last free practice, and he did just on 56 seconds, a 56.9. Now that's not a lap, it would break the lap record, but because it was not an official running, it's not the lap record. So that sort of realized, hang on, these guys are doing 56, 57s. These we've just seen now doing 19s, 110s. That's not going to be safe out there to set a qualifying lap. And so that's why they've split it. Yeah, just interesting coming out here is the Lexus with a V8 Toyota in it. We'll tell you more about that a little bit later on. They're a little bit nervous here because they're not as quick perhaps as some of the other cars. This is a first outing for them, so it's going to be interesting to see. There we can see Aldo Scribante's Lamborghini just coming out in the background, but certainly getting dark outside.
Lights are coming ablaze, and this is going to change things up. But remember, they've got a little bit more rubber down, so we're going to expect these cars to get a little bit faster. A couple of the cars I had a chat to, like the Stradale team that are racing in the Mercedes AMG GT3, going and saying they do have a little bit in the pocket to get themselves further up through the field as they come past, but we cannot count out the Norman Nova NP02 LMP car that is going around. Absolutely stunning vehicle.
Yeah.
Their concern is coming down to whether the conditions change in terms of rain.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's so much talk about here regarding these cars and the balance of power and, you know, how do we make it fair? That's the Nova that won last time out in Swartkops in dramatic fashion, putting it in the sand with just 3 laps to go, and then somehow they pulled it out and still went on to win the race. They missed the opening round, so the championship is very open. But here we go. It's a Nova coming through now with the Mercedes, and it's Andre Neveling that's in the Stradale Motorsport Mercedes now, and setting the first of the flying laps. So we'll keep an eye on this. Here we got the first of 3 sessions coming up for Class A and B.
It's going to be a proper chase down all the way through, and ready, trying to put the hammer down. 56 has been shown, can be done, but who's going to be able to put in the first sub 1 minute? As Arnold Neveling giving it absolute horns, comes across the line, and Charles Visser is chasing him down. So the 2 youngsters having a good go. 56-4.
No way. 56-4 from Charles Visser. First time out.
Arnold Neveling at 57-2.
Wow.
And looked like doing a 59.1. So Charles Visser's not hanging around, but using a little bit of the aero, the slipstream effect to come into play. And again, 56.4, which is just tremendous. Remember, to get the fastest lap time, to hold the record, you have to do it in a race. But in qualifying, they've just blown it out of the water.
Yeah, just to mention weather conditions. It's overcast, there's a lot of cloud about, but there is a bit of a wind, and it's at their back coming down the main straight, which is going to make the speed up a little bit and the braking into the first corner just a little bit more tricky. So here we go now. The Nova comes through once again. Has he gone even quicker? Let's have a look. A 56.4 last time out. He comes flying through now the finish line. We'll keep an eye on that time. It's a 57 point.
It's a 59.2.
It's a 59.2. So now we're starting to see the traffic also play a bit of a role for these cars. Remember, we're looking for one flying lap with 3 minutes 47 seconds to go.
That's the thing. You've got one lap of clear air. If you're the first car out, you're fine. It means you can get that one hot lap. If you're the third car or fourth car, you're pretty much knackered. So you've either got to get a little bit of spacing between yourself and everyone ahead of you, but then you can impede the cars behind you. So it's a bit of a waiting game here.
Now, interesting from the Nova here, because he's actually got a bit of clear track in front of him, because he's following the Mercedes, who's actually like sort of breaking forth the ice and coming through, and other cars are moving out the way. So I think it's clever from Charles Visser. Yeah, he's giving himself a prime position. You can see him actually closing up, and he might actually overtake him here as we come through for another lap.
I think he's just absolutely
56.3 now. 56.3.
So now getting quicker and quicker and utilizing that slipstream all the way through, much to the aggravation of Arnold Neveling, who is actually helping him through it.
But look who's on third. Aldo Scribante, who's doing the 1 hour dash, has just done a sub 1 minute at 59.0. Listen, he knows this track so well. They spent so much time here on this track, so no surprise that he's right up there, but that is a stunning time. Moly Super V then is also under the 1 minute mark at 59.1 in fourth position. We know we've got the fastest Stuart White still to come.
And Paul Hill also putting in a 59.
Under a minute, 59.9 for Paul. Well done. Oh, and he's off.
That is Paul Hill pushing it that little bit too far, unfortunately.
And I think that's the final corner, perhaps.
So
no, well, actually, I'm not sure yet. Now we'll have a look there to see if we can find out where that is on track. And with just 2 minutes left, this is the problem with having such a short session. Of course, you run the danger then of having sort of yellow flags coming out and then slowing down. You've got to get your lap in quickly before something happens.
This, unfortunately, doesn't bode well for Arnold Neveling, and he is now going and slowing up, going to get into the pits.
But that's not, that's too slow. Something else has gone on there. Looks like electronic, perhaps, with the brakes. Doesn't look like he's got drive. He's actually freewheeling.
Fuel pressure. I'm thinking maybe when they say you need 3.4 to get the lap, and you do that 3.5, that's the moment that comes in. So unfortunately, we'll be stopping the car on the circuit.
Double waved yellows here. So this.
It's end of qualifying for everyone. There's no ways you can push it any further, because yellow flag comes out. You have to slow down. You can't keep a fast pace. And it looks like everyone's taking a dive in towards it.
Yeah, all right, so here we go. Around the last corner for Moly. Is he going to put it flat? No, he looks like he's going to be slowing down. The Nova looks like he's going to try and get one more lap in, but I'm not sure that's really going to be wise there from Charles Visser. He's already got the fastest lap here at 56.3, and we've got double waved yellows out there, so I'm not sure that that's necessarily a wise move. Right, let's see if we can find out what's happened with Paul Hill and whether he's actually got going again, and whether we've got the Scribante Motorsport Merc up and going, or whether he's stopped on the main straight.
It must be so frustrating as a driver if you think that you still had one more lap left in the tank, that you can give it that push, and then suddenly having yellow flags out there, having
double waved yellows, Okay, so what's quite important here is Aldo Scribante, of course, is a solo driver, so he's going to be starting with his own time. He's not going to go out again, where we've got these rest of these teams are going to need to put their second and third drivers in. So here comes a driver change. Now Stuart White's going to climb into the Lamborghini, and this is the stunning Lamborghini Hurricane that's had an up and down season so far. Disappointing, they missed the first round, and last time out they were leading, they had problems with the car, and then finished in second and almost won the race with dramatic fashion. We'll get to that. We've lots to talk about tomorrow, but here's the slingshot. Where are we sitting now with Mike McLaughlin in 7th position, not able to break the 1 minute mark.
Well, brand new body on that car. Well, the rear is a brand new design to try and get some low pressure off of the back of the car underneath the wing, give it a little bit more downforce. Unfortunately, this time around, can't quite test it out, and having to just work his way through.
All right, there we go. Paul Hill's got going again. He's going to crawl back into the pits. No need to put your indicator on, Paul. And looks like the Scribante Motorsport Mercedes there is still stuck.
Honestly, I have to say thank you to drivers that do that. If you do have the opportunity to do
For an
it,
indicator.
Because as a car that's catching up, now you know where the guy's going to go. You're not playing a bit of a guessing game of, are you going left, are you going right, are you going to challenge me? It's all sorted.
All right, this is what I've been looking forward to. Sorry, Steve. You can see Nick Adcock outside the car there.
They were working on it a little bit earlier where they took the rear diffuser off. So
there comes the Toyota pass. But just quickly coming back to, you can see Nick Adcock standing by the side of the Nova. Here's the BBR Porsche Racing that won the opening round of the year out at Red Star. They're going to do a driver change. They've got 3 drivers. So that means in that Nova that just went past, Michael Stevens going to be at the wheel there. We saw Nick Adcock on the side shaft. This has already gone through. As you can see, 7 minutes on the clock. Andre Neveling looking under the car.
that's been one of the top running cars this weekend, going and fighting their way through, putting in some of the fastest lap times prior to Stuart White giving it horns, and prior to Charles Visser also giving it everything he's got. So now we've got one of the top runners having to come off the gas.
Right, so we're not sure who's going to go in there. Probably going to be Joseph Ellerine going in now.
It is Joseph with the purple.
Yeah, and Maurice Jackson. Heartache for them out at Swartkorp's last time out, because they arrived at the track and unfortunately went off, had a problem with the car and actually couldn't compete. So it's fantastic to see them here. And there we've got that second Audi that is now, of course, in Class B that has been out on the track.
Well, Joseph Ellerine actually coming back from Germany, had an 8-hour flight, comes to have a bit of fun. Did say the drivers went and leaned on him, and he wanted to lean back, but he was told by Marius, listen, don't scratch the car, let's just get this thing all the way through. But Marius going and giving a little bit of word of advice of how the track is going, and Blunden going and having himself a huge amount of fun. A huge Porsche fan, and I actually asked him, I said, what's the difference between climbing into a Cup car and a GT4 car? He says, just the balance of how the car performs, and also being able to trust it a little bit more with the traction control, the ABS. It's a lot more welcoming compared to a Cup car, which, well, doesn't have all those luxuries.
Are they towing?
They're towing it.
Right, so what does this mean now? This means that theoretically, if they get that car back into the pits and they find it's something small, that means then that Charles Orangis could actually participate in the third qualifying session. But if they don't, we are going to see, right, what's the news coming through?
So the car that came off at Swartkorps was Ryan Nyker in the car into a turn 1.
Of course, with Maurice Jackson's car.
So new car, having a little bit of fun. Unfortunately, landed up in the kitty litter, and a little bit earlier in free practice 5, landed up on top of the tires. They were doing some frantic work there. I do want to point out, though, Stradale needs to get this car going in an absolute hurry because of one thing. They've got their drivers needing to get out as quick as they can and in clear air. Otherwise, they are going to be trapped behind even the GT4s.
Right, just keep an eye on that horizon there. That's looking a bit more mistier than what we've seen so far today. So just keep an eye on that. That's looking a little bit more misty. We do have rain forecast for later today, but I've not seen that the horizon as misty as that so far today. So we keep an eye on the conditions, which may be changing. The drivers have actually been quite keen for a bit of rain, just to have some time in the rain, knowing that that's sort of forecast for tomorrow.
Well, they did set the cars up for it. I'm going to take you back to the Norman Nova, the Just for Sleep. They have done a rain setup, not a hybrid setup, not to handle the dry, but just pure onto the rain. Same as the Slingshot 2.0. They also changed their spring rates to handle the wet. So in the dry conditions, they're not getting optimal performance. Well, I say that, and Charles Visser did put himself at the top of the charts, but it's not optimal just as yet.
Yeah, fantastic from the team. Unbelievable stuff. So with maybe some inclement weather, the guys will be super keen to get out there. As mentioned, the Scribante Motorsport Mercedes is in the pits. We'll see if we can find out what's happening down there. But they do have one more session, potentially the third session, to still get a lap time. Otherwise, it's going to be starting at the back of the field for them in the A class. Very competitive. Right, there it goes, back into the pits.
And the team are going to be working frantically. And if you ever want to see a driver get his arms into it. Watch Arnold Neverling. He's going to grab a couple of the spanners and also get it leaning into the work. But with Michael Stephen now out in the Norman over, the Just for Sleep, he's going to be racing in anger. But you also got Hein Latergan in the number 5 992 Porsche Cup car, which is having a huge amount of fun. Goes on the dirt a little bit, trying to get a little bit closer to his son Henk Latergan. So Hein now hoping that he can try move his way up through the order and keep as close as he can. Remember, it works on the average of each of the drivers. So if you've got 3 drivers, average out the 3 times between you. And if it's 2 drivers, same principle. But it can also be a double-edged blade.
Yeah. Right, there seems to be lots of asking questions. Not many people working on the car at the moment. Lots of discussion going on. Just to mention though, out on the track, we do have Michael Stephen. We're keeping an eye on him. He did a 56.3 first time out. And it's Stuart White. I was going to say, Stuart White is also on the track. We're talking about Charles Fiss and Michael Stephen, but Stuart White is one that did a 56.9 earlier. He's already up to a 56.3. And I didn't actually write it down. What was Charles Fiss's time from a bit earlier today?
So Charles Fisser managed, and this is from qualifying, managed to get a 56.332.
Okay, 56.332.
So that's the go for, and Stuart White did a 56.337.
All right, all to play for. Look at the horizon there. I told you it's looking a bit different, so it looks like we might have some weather coming in, but looks like we might get this session dry with one more of the qualifying to go. Here comes Stuart White, absolutely throwing it into the S's. He is on business. He's meaning business. Yeah, we go full taps now as we head down to the hangar. You can see he's just going to lift a little bit, touch the brakes, and now flat out towards the hairpin. It's going to be a popular overtaking spot for the 5 hours of Scribante. Takes a hard right now. You're going to not too early on the power. Oh, we do have the Toyota now that's compromised his racing line going through the sweep. Going to be onto the throttle now and then towards that important braking spot for Dunlop. The final corner, long right turn. Don't get on the power too early. Find your spot and then give it everything you've got to the finish line. Right, let's have a look. What time we got? 56.337 last time out.
And
traffic perhaps in this time out.
56.8, so that caught him out quite a bit there. Michael Stephen, though, in a second place. You got Bradley Liebenberg. Remember, Paul Hill's car went and spun out. That is the Primogen Audi. He's managed to put it in third place, currently with a 57.7. So he is on the back, trying to catch up to Stuart White, getting held up in a little bit of traffic at the moment. But ideally, he wants to be on the back of that Lamborghini.
Yeah, and of course, we mustn't forget about Joseph Ellerine, who's in the number 80 MJR Motorsport Audi. And he just did a 59.2, and he is well capable of also getting down even lower. So traffic certainly playing a role with 3 minutes 20. You know, if anybody goes off now, like we saw in the previous sort of session, it's going to compromise any of their laps, and this could be it. So here goes Stuart White once more. It looked like he had a fairly clean lap this time, Steve.
Yeah, it looks like it may have just worked out in his favor. We're just waiting for the lap time as he comes across the line, and last lap was a 58.1. So coming off the gas a little bit there, not going and pushing it all too hard. Maybe the traffic coming into play, or getting told, listen, we got you at the top of the charts. You've got some breathing room. Don't worry about it. No. Now it's just to keep it together. But, well, going and touching the dirt is different.
Yeah, you can't tell a racing driver that. No, but it looks like he's got some free space ahead of him. Michael Stephen is just less than 0.1 second the quickest lap so far. So 0.101 between those two at the moment. We know Charles Fisser's time was a 56.3. So this is the cream of the crop in South African motorsport. Unbelievable pace here as Stuart White comes down once again to Dunlop, looking for his braking spot, and then it's going to be flat on the taps going into the long straight. They're talking about 260, 270 k's per hour down the main straight with the wind behind.
And on the gas, will he be able to do it? Just waiting for that update. Oh, the anticipation's killing me. 56.6. So just wasn't able to get that little bit more underneath his belt, but it still opened up a bit of spacing to Michael Stephen. Michael Stephen's last lap time was a 56.442, and then his best lap time was a 56.438. So unfortunately, Michael Stevens running out of time here if he really wants to give it one shot. Or will Charles Visser be smiling in the pits going, you couldn't get me?
Yeah. Just to show you how challenging this is, I mean, we talked about that Toyota with the Lexus body, the number 88. I mean, he's lapping in the 117s. Oh, what have we got here? Is this the Maurice Jackson Audi?
That is. That's Bradley Liebenberg.
No. That's is the
Joseph Ellerine.
Joseph Ellerine. This is now through Hanger. It's a very fast part of the track. You can see them taking full taps here as they take a left.
Unfortunately, that means...
And we just spoke about this.
Yep.
This is going to compromise the likes of Bradley Liebenberg, but they'll be very pleased with where they find themselves. Looks like he's got it going, though.
Going through the restart process, but I can tell you as a driver, this is where you come off the gas, you get it into the pits, and you call it a day. It's done.
Yeah, there's going to be double waved yellows there. The drivers are going to have to slow coming into this corner. There goes Michael Stephen through in the Nova. There goes that Lexus body. There goes Stuart White. No, they know it's done now. The session will be over, and he got it going.
You got it going. So if you're lucky, you may be able to get a lap in, but I think most drivers have conceded at this point and decided that it is done and dusted. They will be letting driver threes take across. Not many of our drivers in Class A and Class B are 3 drivers. Most of them are 2. So expect to see a little bit less, but we will see the BBR racing, the BBR Porsche go out on circuit. We will see the 511 go out on circuit, the Norma Nova of the Just for Sleep. So we will see the GNH and the Just for Sleep out on the track going one more time. And we will also see that Lexus going out on the track to get one more shot for their drivers.
All right, so we got the MJR Motorsport Audi back into the pits. That's good news for them. So their 2 sessions are done now, so they'll be pleased with the 4th place, although they'll be concerned about how things have panned out there for them.
I've just heard them revving the engine up, so just going...
Just outside our commentary booth here, so that sounds all right. So Stuart White there, 56.3, just to remind you, that's a 56.332, 56.337 for Stuart White. Charles Visser, 56.332 was his time. It's Michael Stephen, a 56.438.
And that's Stuart
Amazing.
White's personal best in the car this entire weekend, because in free practice 5 he did a 56.9, so he's bettered his time. He's got his personal best underneath his belt, and let's see how that's going to play out come the end of the sessions when we calculate the averages. Has it been enough to put themselves on the top spot, or will the consistency between Michael Stephen and Charles Visser now
As mentioned, the Stradale Motorsport Mercedes is in the pits. We'll see if we can find out what's happening down there, but they do have one more session, potentially the 3rd session, to still get a lap time. Otherwise, it's going to be starting at the back of the field for them in the A class. Very competitive. Right, there it goes, back into the pits.
And the team are going to be working frantically. And if you ever want to see a driver get his arms into it, watch Arnold Neverling. He's going to grab a couple of the spanners and also get it leaning into the work. But with Michael Stephen now out in the Norma Nova, the Just for Sleep, he's going to be racing in anger. But you also got Hein Lartigan in the number 5 992 Porsche Cup car, which is having a huge amount of fun. Goes on the dirt a little bit, trying to get a little bit closer to his son Henk Lartigan. So Hein now hoping that he can try move his way up through the order and keep as close as he can. Remember, it works on the average of each of the drivers. So if you've got 3 drivers, average out the 3 times between you. And if it's 2 drivers, same principle. But it can also be a double-edged blade.
Yeah. Right, there seems to be lots of asking questions. Not many people working on the car at the moment. Lots of discussion going on. Just to mention, though, out on the track, we do have Michael Stephen. We're keeping an eye on him. He's at a 56.3 first time out. And it's Stuart White. I was going to say, Stuart White is also on the track. We're talking about Charles Visser and Michael Stephen, but Stuart White is one that it did a 56.9 earlier. He's already up to a 56.3. And I didn't actually write it down. What was Charles Visser's time from a bit earlier today?
So Charles Visser managed, and this is from qualifying, managed to get a 56.332.
Okay, 56.332.
So that's the go for, and Stuart White did a 56.337.
All right, all to play for. Look at the horizon there. I told you it's looking a bit different, so it looks like we might have some weather coming in, but looks like we might get this session dry with one more of the qualifying to go. Here comes Stuart White, absolutely throwing it into the S's. He is on business. He's meaning business. Yeah, we go full taps now as we head down to the hangar. You can see he's just going to lift a little bit, touch the brakes, and now flat out towards the hairpin. It's going to be a popular overtaking spot for the 5 hours of Scribante. Takes a hard right now. You're going to not too early on the power. Oh, we do have the Toyota now that's compromised his racing line, going through the sweep. Going to be onto the throttle now, and then towards that important braking spot for Dunlop. The final corner, long right turn. Don't get on the power too early. Find your spot, and then give it everything you've got to the finish line. Right, let's have a look. What time we got? 56.337 last time out.
And
traffic perhaps in this time out.
56.8, so that caught him out quite a bit there. Michael Stephen, though, in a second place. You got Bradley Liebenberg. Remember, Paul Hill's car went and spun out. That is the Primogen Audi. He's managed to put it in third place, currently with a 57.7. So he is on the back, trying to catch up to Stuart White, getting held up in a little bit of traffic at the moment. But ideally, he wants to be on the back of that Lamborghini.
Yeah, and of course, we mustn't forget about Joseph Ellerine, who's in the number 80 MJR Motorsport Audi. And he just did a 59.2, and he is well capable of also getting down even lower. So traffic certainly playing a role with 3 minutes 20. You know, if anybody goes off now, like we saw in the previous sort of session, it's going to compromise any of their laps, and this could be it. So here goes Stuart White once more. It looked like he had a fairly clean lap this time, Steve.
Yeah, it looks like it may have just worked out in his favor. We're just waiting for the lap time as he comes across the line, and last lap was a 58.1. So coming off the gas a little bit there, not going and pushing it all too hard. Maybe the traffic coming into play, or getting told, listen, we got you at the top of the charts. You've got some breathing room. Don't worry about it. No. Now it's just to keep it together. But, well, going and touching the dirt is different.
Yeah, you can't tell a racing driver that. No, but it looks like he's got some free space ahead of him. Michael Stephen is just less than 0.1 second the quickest lap so far. So 0.101 between those two at the moment. We know Charles Visser's time was a 56.3. So this is the cream of the crop in South African motorsport. Unbelievable pace here as Stuart White comes down once again to Dunlop, looking for his braking spot, and then it's going to be flat on the taps going into the long straight. They're talking about 260, 270 k's per hour down the main straight with the wind behind.
And on the gas, will he be able to do it? Just waiting for that update. Oh, the anticipation's killing me. 56.6. So just wasn't able to get that little bit more underneath his belt, but it still opened up a bit of spacing to Michael Stephen. Michael Stephen's last lap time was a 56.442, and then his best lap time was a 56.438. So unfortunately, Michael Stephen's running out of time here if he really wants to give it one shot. Or will Charles Visser be smiling in the pits going, you couldn't get me?
Yeah. Just to show you how challenging this is, I mean, we talked about that Toyota with the Lexus body, the number 88. I mean, he's lapping in the 117s. Oh, what have we got here? Is this the Maurice Jackson Audi?
That is. That's Bradley Liebenberg.
No. This is the
Joseph Ellerine.
Joseph Ellerine. This is now through hangar. It's a very fast part of the track. You can see them taking full taps here as they take a left.
Unfortunately, that means...
And we just spoke about this.
Yep.
This is going to compromise the likes of Bradley Liebenberg, but they'll be very pleased with where they find themselves. Looks like he's got it going, though.
Going through the restart process, but I can tell you as a driver, this is where you come off the gas, you get it into the pits, and you call it a day. It's done.
Yeah, there's going to be double waved yellows there. The drivers are going to have to slow coming into this corner. There goes Michael Stephen through in the Nova. There goes that Lexus body. There goes Stuart White. No, they know it's done now. The session will be over, and he got it going.
He got it going. So if you're lucky, you may be able to get a lap in, but I think most drivers have conceded at this point and decided that it is done and dusted. They will be letting driver threes take across. Not many of our drivers in Class A and Class B are three drivers. Most of them are two. So expect to see a little bit less, but we will see the BBR racing, the BBR Porsche go out on circuit. We will see the 511 go out on circuit, the Norma Nova of the Just for Sleep. So we will see the GNH and the Just for Sleep out on the track going one more time. And we will also see that Lexus going out on the track to get one more shot for their drivers.
All right, so we got the MJR Motorsport Audi back into the pits. That's good news for them. So their 2 sessions are done now, so they'll be pleased with the 4th place, although they'll be concerned about how things have panned out there for them.
I've just heard them revving the engine up, so just going...
Just outside our commentary booth here, so that sounds all right. So Stuart White there, 56.3, just to remind you, that's a 56.332, 56.337 for Stuart White. Charles Visser, 56.332 was his time. It's Michael Stephen, a 56.438.
And that's Stuart
Amazing.
White's personal best in the car this entire weekend, because in free practice 5 he did a 56.9, so he's bettered his time. He's got his personal best underneath his belt, and let's see how that's going to play out come the end of the sessions when we calculate the averages. Has it been enough to put themselves on the top spot, or will the consistency between Michael Stephen and Charles Visser, now you're going to have Nick Adcock getting behind the wheel. If he can get a 56.4 or a 56.3, that can put them right in pole position.
So this is interesting now, because we, just fast forwarding to tomorrow, we would be 1 hour into the race. Heading up towards 5 o'clock now, so we would be 1 hour into the race. This is the kind of conditions we can expect tomorrow, obviously weather related. But gives you an idea about the changing conditions out there. You can see the floodlights are starting to come on, and it gets dark very quickly over the next 20 minutes.
That is the Nike Audi that was a little bit broken earlier.
So they managed to get back. They crashed out in the final free practice. Right, speak us through it there, Steve.
So we've got Stuart White and Lateco out at the top of the chart. So they are currently holding pole position. Michael Stephen and Charles Visser for the Just for Sleep have gone out. Nick Adcock will be heading out for his final run. Bradley Liebenberg and Paul Hill, they are currently in 3rd place. Both drivers have gone out and holding it just in front of the MJR Motorsport of Marius Jackson and Joseph Ellery. Both cars running into some odd runs. And then we've got Hein Lattergaan, Henk Lattergaan with Tavares now jumping behind the wheel. That is our BBR.
But look at 10th. Look is in 10th position. It's the Slingshot 2.0. Now, Steve Clark did not go out that time round, so we'll see that perhaps change.
Yes, he will have one more shot at it. So Mike McLaughlin's been out. They've taken a gap just to go and make sure everything's okay. Give it one final time. I think it's a smarter move.
I think it is.
You give yourself that room.
You've taken the risk now with the weather. It looks like it might hold out. You can see it coming in from the city side. We're expecting the rain to come from the city centre towards us. Remember, although we won't be with you in live streaming, we do have a mandatory night, practice night, which could be in the wet, which the drivers would appreciate. They'd like the opportunity to do that, yeah.
Okay, so we're finding out a little bit more from an earlier accident in free practice. It was Ryan Nyko, who was in the GT4 Audi R8, and unfortunately went and had his brakes fail and went crashing off into the wall. Loss of brake fluid was the unfortunately to that, and a little bit of a puncture that came into the brake line. But for a 16-year-old, that's a bit of a jarring time. I actually had a chat to him, and he said, well, I hope we can get the car out again because I want to go have a bit of fun. Yeah. Much like our 262 over here, that is getting a bit of work done to the front of it.
Yeah, Harman, Barron, Pretorius here in the Pesty Racing Backdraft Roadster. They finished on the podium last time out at Swartkorps, despite going off the track a few times. And so doing a bit of work there. Of course, their qualifying is done and dusted, but they'll be looking to prepare that car now for their mandatory night practice that's coming up a little bit later on. Just to give a shout out for tomorrow, the 5 hours of Scribante, the Aldo Scribante racetrack here in Nelson Mandela Bay, gets underway at 4 o'clock. We're going to be coming to live from early in the morning with some of the support races. We've got the Super Vs to look out for. In fact, we've got the Super V Race 1 still to come tonight. So just have a look at that horizon though, Steve. You can see, not from this side, this is now the weather moving away from us, but that other shot gave you an idea of what's coming our way, and it's certainly looking a little bit more gloomy there. So Rain is forecast for 9 o'clock this evening at the racetrack, so we'll see if that comes a bit sooner.
You know what it looks like to me? Hot chocolate, blanket, and a movie. That's what it looks like, or an awesome days out of racing.
I don't know about these guys. I'm not sure hot chocolate will fit in these cars, but they are relishing the opportunity to drive these incredible monsters, these incredible machines. And what a privilege it is to have them here in South Africa. You can see the freeway in the background. There's that shot I was talking about from the distance. You see the wind's actually coming down the straight, and in the distance you can see it's a little bit misty out there. So we'll keep an eye on that coming our way.
Okay, so we've got Tavares currently out in the BBR Porsche, and he did a 102.9 on his last lap. Nick Adcock in the Norman over the MP02, the Just for Sleep, did a 58.8. Remember, his target is a 56.4 to go for. And let's see how that's going to play out in his favor. A couple of the cars just trying to work up their pace, but it's going to be a proper run to the line for them. And well, I want to see where the pressure is going to come in for Tavares, as they have to improve. They have to get everything right if they want to still try and fight for the championship. We're in round 3 of 6 rounds here for the championship of the South African Endurance
Right, look at
Series.
that wide shot there. That's the rain that we're expecting coming from the city side. Keep an eye on that horizon. When we start to not see that horizon, which is what we're starting to see there, we can see that's coming directly towards us. So looks like we'll probably get through this session, but it's going to make very interesting for the night mandatory session, and of course the Super V race still to come here on our live YouTube channel. So changing conditions expecting here over the next 20-30 minutes at Aldo Scribante. Round 3 of 6, of course. 3 rounds still to go, Steve. 2 at Kyalami, 1 at East London, with 2 minutes left to go in this final session. And just a few cars on the track. I think if the Slingshot 2.0 is out there, I think they've picked up a little trick here. Wait to see if we can see them out on the track, because they might have missed all that heavy traffic in the second session.
Okay, so we're doing a little bit of working out for our BBR Racing Porsche. They have to get a 1 minute, a very low 1 minute, to be able to finish in the top running order, because Hein was 1.1 seconds. Henk was 1 minute 0.2, so Tavares needs to get a 1 minute if he wants to work this out. Nick Adcock, remember his target lap time is a 56. He's doing currently a 58.0, so 2 seconds off. He's got to find 2 seconds, but where on this track can you find 2 seconds?
Well, he's got some free traffic now ahead of him. He doesn't have much time left there, just over a minute to go. He's catching up to a bit of traffic now, but seems to have made it nicely past it. Let's see if we can see his time. He should be going through the final corner and down the main straight as we see that imminent rain on the horizon, certainly looking a lot thicker. You can actually see the rain falling out of those clouds, heading in our direction. Right, let's see, Nick Adcock through the finish line. 58.4, right, so not quick enough for pole position. Remember, average time from the 3 drivers. That's not quick enough from Nick, so we'll keep an eye, which means that at the moment it's likely to be the Lamborghini that's going to be on pole position. We'll get confirmation of that.
Yeah, it's doing my quick math, and well, I trust my math as far as I can throw myself. That goes and sits with Into Africa may have done enough, but unfortunately the G&H Transport getting a bit of a look into the back and looking at that V10 saying, let's just make sure everything's okay. A little bit of a shake of the head. Maybe the opting not to go and send the car out for that one last run. Morris Jackson also just overlooking the car, the MJR team going and helping mechanic and get that car all sorted out. And they seem to be being in the same pit. Seems to be quite an amazing atmosphere. And you actually can walk past Morris and he just soaks it in. He's just loving having a GT3 to the right and a GT4 to the left.
Beautiful. Lovely to have them with us here. And of course, race fans here in Nelson Mandela Bay are so looking forward to coming out to the track tomorrow to witness these beasts going around this track. Of course, there's the grid walk as well that's going to be taking place. Purchase a ticket there and you can come and enjoy it. I think there's just a limited amount of those that are left. But stunning viewing spots around the track. And rain or no rain, it's the ideal track to come sit in your car with your flask. Or what do you want? Hot chocolate, you said.
Hot chocolate. You can never go wrong with hot chocolate. It's like a chocolate milkshake. I actually had one where a guy went and said he adds ice to his chocolate milkshake. I've never had my skin curdle like that. But they're opting to just stop The G&H Transport looks like the engine got a little bit warm.
Yeah.
So we'll find out a little bit news later on about that.
Looks like a cup of hot chocolate they've left there on the top there of that engine.
Unfortunately, Nick Adcock was only able to put the best lap time of 58.085, which is 2 seconds off his teammate. So it's going to be all eyes out towards the front. Has the Just for Sleep team done enough to hold pole position, or will they be starting on the outside heading into turn 1 come tomorrow?
Right, we just passed 5 o'clock here in Nelson Mandela Bay. Great to have you tuned in from wherever you are watching our live streaming from around the world. This is the qualifying session, done and dusted now for the 5 hours of Aldo Scribante, getting underway at 4 o'clock tomorrow. And we've got some very special things happening here throughout the day. We've got our local races, bikes, saloons, cars, all happening. We've got some of the local guys joining us here as well in studio. Mr. Motormouth himself, Brendan Kelly's going to be joining us and giving us commentary. But there we go. Well done. There's Michael Stephen, Charles Fisser, and Nick Adcock. They looks like they're pointing number 1 there.
They seem to be happy with that. Maybe the calculations in the pits going and preemptively getting ahead of it, saying we may have just done enough. We're waiting for our confirmation to come up on screen. I can tell you I'm chomping at the bit here. I want to see how close my math is. But as you said, some local racing coming in. Some racing all the way from Johannesburg coming down to Aldo Scribante. The drivers also getting to experience it for the very first time. I'm going to be experiencing some of the local talent for the very first time.
Here's one of them coming out.
Oh man, it's absolutely amazing.
Did we just see a Golf overtake a Porsche there in the pits?
Well, they're both VWs, so it's fine. But I've got to say, the one thing about everyone here at Quebec is you can walk up to them and say, hey, you mind if I take a look at your car? They will more than happy open the door, let you sit in the vehicles and walk you through it. So honestly, for any of the crowd, you have to come experience it here in the pits.
Yeah, just quickly, you can see across the track there, you can see someone's, hearing about the racing, watching this, and then popped into the track. And look, they're parking across from the pits here, and that's how exciting close. You can see some fans here, spectators walking through the pits, meeting the drivers, looking at the cars. It's probably one of the racetracks in South Africa that you get the most, or the closest to the action as well.
We have to add, though, you can also park your car on the side of the circuit and tune in your radio to also be a part of it, so much like the old drive-ins. But we also had some very lucky fans a little bit earlier today. Gareth, where you went and gave away the 5 of the grid walk tickets also with a +1. We're going to be seeing them experiencing walking around these cars, but also with the limited purchase of tickets for grid walks, it's not to be missed.
Can you imagine walking down the grid there with a Porsche, a Lamborghini, a Nova, a Merc? Actually, speaking of the Merc,
well, we're going to have to get some work. We're going to have to get some work there, but it didn't go out.
Didn't go out. So what does this mean? We'll see if we can get Nadine, the team, to find out what's happened at the Merc. The Scribante Motorsport, Arnold Neveling, of course, went out in the first session, then got stuck on the main straight, and Charles Arangis did not come out. And just to remind you, they did not participate in the first 2 rounds. Charles Arangis had some surgery done, so this is their first round of the year, so they'll be desperate for some points. Long way to go, of course, in the season, with 4 rounds, including tomorrow, still to come. Right, welcome back to the 5 hours of Scribante, and wherever you are viewing in from around the world, I'm Gareth Burley. I've got Brendan Kelly, our local commentator, joining me alongside. This is a sight we've been looking forward to, Brendan.
Absolutely, yeah. What an honor to be part of the commentary team and to enjoy all of the action. Cars finally going out onto the track now. We've had a couple of guys pulling out, deciding conditions not to their liking. There was a couple of cars that haven't got windscreen wipers fitted. I know the Owen Ashley Opel supercars, they haven't got windscreen wipers, so they opted to rather pack the cars away and watch the action. So you can see the track conditions have certainly improved since what we saw earlier. The stand-in water has all been moved out of the way. They've cut veins into the track to get rid of the water that was standing there. So just a massive thank you to all of the people behind the scenes, the Algoa Motorsport Club officials, and obviously the unsung heroes, the marshals, for going out there and doing an absolutely brilliant job. We've got a couple of the couple of the supercars actually going and joining.
Well, yeah, let's just quickly mention the conditions. So you look in the distance there, it looks pretty miserable, but the wind is actually pushing that, looks like past the track. Looking outside our commentary booth, it's very light drizzle. So it's actually not too bad. Probably the best conditions we've had so far today, although that horizon, you can't see the city in the background, is because, thank you, the cameraman is clearing up for us there. So they've got a couple of sighting laps. Just to mention, here comes Charles Oranges in that 911 Porsche GTR. We heard him speaking about the fact that he's entered into this class. And you might be wondering about the blue Lamborghini. That is, of course, the Inter-Africa Racing Lamborghini that they've got here as well. That's not racing in the endurance race, but is participating here. And they're sort of just prepping that car, and we'll see what happens perhaps in the next season as well. So some big cars joining here, but this... the local saloons, they'll be delighted to see a Lamborghini and a Porsche alongside them.
Absolutely. In shot there now, Murray Ellis. There's a man who loves his motorsport, and he eats, sleeps, and drinks it. And what a character! He's one of the local heroes that he hasn't got time for anybody. He might look like Father Christmas with the big beard and the curly grey hair, but what a fantastic guy, and can certainly pedal. He ended up driver of the day up at Kyalami the other day. This is Sean Gradwell coming through in the King Williamstown Engineering BMW. Lots of development that he's gone. He's the slower of the two that he has got. He's got the what he refers to as the wide car, which he decided he'll stick with the reliability this weekend. So a nice mix of cars out on circuit, and let's have a look who's coming down the main straight now. I saw Kelsey Davidson out in it looks like one of the Fisser brothers, and then Charles Oranges in the Porsche going through. But Kelsey Davidson in the Super Polo out on track as well.
Look at the wind pushing the spray up in the air and directly right across the screen, which just sort of emphasizes again, there might be quite a bit of rain about. You can see it in the distance, but it's actually been pushed quite rapidly to the side and actually away from the track. Charles Orange is coming through now in the 86 911 Porsche GTR. We're going to see that car in the 5 hour of Scribante. They're going to do the 1 hour dash. So this is a 5-minute little warm-up. This is not for qualifying. This is just to see the conditions, and then
absolutely
each race getting a chance, really.
Yeah, and what it's doing is just managing to dissipate the water that's lying around the circuit. So the guys will get a feel for it, and as long as the rain stays away, we'll just have a look when the cars come back down through the sweep and see if that big puddle that we saw earlier, if that has all but disappeared now. There's Kelsey Davidson, leads that pack out there in the Stu Davidson and Son VW Super Polo. She's getting more and more confident in that car every time she goes out.
Wow, look at the wind just pumping the wood. This is clearing it quite nicely. In fact, I don't think it will be too long before you're actually going to see some kind of resemblance of a racing line. Certainly not going to be dry, but they are clearing that water at a rapid pace. So just 2 minutes left here in this session. So this is a 5-minute session for the EP Saloons. We've still got, of course, the Coastal Car Challenge to
Coastal
come.
Challenge, the Open Tops and Coastal Challenge, but I think the Open Top guys have opted out already. They just felt it was too dangerous. You can see Charles Fisser getting the front end of the car all twitchy there as he came through, exiting turn 5. That's young Timothy Ball. He's one of the next crop of young drivers to come through. The son of legendary motor racer Dean Ball, and Dean, the man that's responsible for building most of these BMWs that you see out on circuit in the Eastern Cape. He's been very, very instrumental in putting the series, the BMWs together for the series that we run here. So fantastic to have young Timothy out on track, and he really does go well in that little BMW.
Yeah, it just shows you, I mean, you can see a bit of a clearance under these BMWs, so not as much spray. When that Lamborghini came past, that was power boating stuff there, throwing a massive amount of water in the air, clearing the tracks. And it's because they're going out now that we actually have the chance maybe for the bikes even to come out because of the fantastic work they're doing.
We're focusing on Ian Riddle in the Mastercrete BMW, also very twitchy under braking there. That's a Group A car, or Class A car, and extremely quick as Kelsey Davidson dives through on the inside of Paul Berry. That's Paul Berry, a man who's made the trip down from East London. Right behind him, Timothy Ball, and then Charles Oranges in that beautiful Porsche.
Yeah, so going to take it nice and easy, of course. There's no racing happening at the moment. This is just sighting laps, just an opportunity to see the conditions, to see where on the track we've got sort of some grip, where it's a bit slippery. We are seeing the cars just struggling with a lot of these rear-wheel drives.
Yep. Oh yeah, we chatted to a couple of the drivers at the meeting a couple of minutes ago, and it's all the rear-wheel drive guys that are keen to get out there. They want these conditions.
There he goes. Oh, yeah, lovely.
It's Ian Riddle getting it all out of shape there, but just having a look, I don't see that stand in water, that big puddle, not noticeable as the cars headed out of turn 5 going down to the sweep. So it looks like the marshals, what they've done out there has certainly worked. And if we could just take this opportunity to say a massive thank you to HeroTel, who have been instrumental in giving us a clean line for Supersport, so that all of the we can bring you this all of this action absolutely seamlessly. And they've also updated all of the not the fiber lines, the live stream, all the facilities around the circuit as well. So massive thank you to HeroTel.
Yeah. Okay, Charlotte Rangi's there going with the 112. No surprise there. And perhaps we didn't get some of the names, but I think perhaps the Lamborghini, Inter Africa Racing Lamborghini, would be right in there as well, perhaps second or fourth. But yeah, this is just an opportunity for the drivers to have a look and see what the conditions are like. As mentioned, we see a bit of rain. It does look like it's getting heavier at the moment, though, out there as we broadcast across the track. This is now coming through Hanger into that heavy braking zone. We had a bit of water out in this corner, but you can see that's looking pretty good. They've cut a couple of channels into the grass, and that's why you see these BMW just sliding it around. This is the sweep that we were talking about. We were concerned, and you can see it doesn't look too bad on the inside there.
That right where he was there, on the apex of that corner, was where that big puddle had formed there. So, as I said, the marshals having done a fantastic job and managing to get rid of that puddle that had formed. So, Charlotte Rangi's quickest car out on circuit at the moment, 112 the best, and then the 25 car. Let's just have a look. We haven't got a name on the 25. I think it possibly Timothy Ball. That
okay. Well, look, as you can see, it is really bucketing down now. You can see the spray has changed completely, and there go the cars now into the pits. And we are now getting ready for the Coastal Car Challenge. The cars, you can see them lining up towards the end of the pits as well. As mentioned, the open tops will have perhaps not be competing here, looking at the conditions changing. The wind is sort of bringing it in, but also blowing it away quite quickly. So, within a couple of minutes we can see it changing. So it's an evolving situation here. It's hard work for the race clerk, the whole team, trying to decide what's the best thing. Here comes that Lamborghini just paving away here, power boating down that main straight.
Wow. Just having a look at the windows of the studio, it is bucketing down at the moment. So
swirling around as well.
Yeah, it's a crazy weather. We desperately need rain in these areas, but we've had a complete run of events that have been hammered by water, especially in the dirt oval side. So
okay, so just some news coming through is that we're going to ask the 150 bikes to go after the Super V. So we're just going to push that one back a little bit. Okay, so this is the Inter Africa Racing Lamborghini.
Yeah.
You might be saying it's blue.
Yeah.
I thought it was green. They've got two Lamborghinis here this weekend. The green one they race in the Endurance Series. This one they've sort of been looking at doing the 1 hour dashes, maybe planning for next year. There's lots of ideas about what they're going to do, but it's great to see it out on track, and it's doing a great job of clearing for us as well.
Yeah, Moly Super V, the man behind the wheel of that car, and I mean, what an ambassador for the sport. And him and Stuart White has obviously been working very closely with Moly, and to get him to the pace that he's running at the moment. And I had a chat to Wayne Riddell yesterday and just said, if there was one driver for me that has really stood out in the last year, it must be Moly Super, because he is going incredibly well.
Well, just looking at the lap times there, the fastest from Charlotte Rangi's was a 1:12.1. We've just had Molile go out in a 1:12.8, and that was at that lap we just saw there now. So he's not holding back in a seriously fast and expensive car.
No, brilliant to see. And then Charles Visser in the VW Super Polo, 1:15, so about 3 seconds off the pace of the rest of the guys. Then with the BMWs, Sean Gradwell, the quickest of the BMs, 1:22, and we used to see him going around in that BM, the 107s, 108s. So the times have definitely dropped off significantly in the wet, and I see the Coastal Challenge cars going out there. We've got such a nice array of historics and classics that take part in
And yeah, we've got the first of the open tops.
See, there's an
coming out
open
as
top
well.
suddenly sneaking out as well. This car coming out now, that's Liam Watts' car, but Neil Stephen, the legendary Neil Stephen from East London, behind the wheel of that car now. Next up is the second of the little cadets, that's Barry Spriggs, and followed by Aidan Barnard in the Opel Cadet that they nicknamed Rambo.
So just that heavy downpour now, just starting to see a little bit more standing water on the track. Just that heavy downpour coming past. It's actually just eased off a little bit now. I want the Lambo back on just to clear the path a little bit here, but good for them to get out there and just to see the conditions. You can see them staying away from the apex as well.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, the guys have been instructed, and it's just common sense, really. Go out there and race according to the conditions. So hopefully everybody is going to enjoy the conditions out there, and you know, there will be no, not the guys saying, too dangerous to race or any, but you can see from the wind, you know, that was, we knew the rain was coming, but this wind was a bit of a curveball, because not many of the forecasts that I've been following actually predicted the wind to be so heavy. And you know, when you arrive at the racetrack at 6 o'clock in the morning and you step into a puddle straight away, and they've got wet, soggy socks for the rest of the day,
It's going to be a long day.
It's going to be a long day.
Yeah, so we can see there the conditions just improving a bit. It's ever changing here at Scribante, and part of it is because this weather's coming off the ocean. So Neil Stephen, the first one through there in the 37, and race fans will be familiar with these colours, Brendan. These, I mean, seen this colours on a. Well, now you can see as you get too close there to the grass, there's actually big puddles of water. Right, Nadine is down in the pits with one of the competitors, just been out. Let's find out what she has to say.
Thanks, Gareth. I'm here with sorry again?
Stefan Ockham.
Stefan Ockham. Still getting to know the saloon guys. Car 97. You just went out in these rainy conditions, literally testing the waters. How was it?
Literally testing the waters. It wasn't actually that bad. There is some grip on the surface. Obviously, you can't do stupid stuff. But yeah, I think if it carries on like this, we'll be on for a race later today. So yeah, I think the conditions are okay.
Tell me, how's this last turn? Because I was standing by the pit wall watching you guys come around there, and a couple oaks were coming with the back end of the car sort of slipping and sliding.
Yeah, that's I think a lot of it is always just for show down the straight. But like I say, there is grip around the track. Obviously, you have to wait for the car to line up and find the grip, and then you can get on the power. But yeah, I was flat out down the straight. I think the conditions will stay like this for the day, hopefully.
And when you say flat out, what sort of speeds are we talking?
I was top end of fourth gear, so probably about 170-ish, somewhere there at the bottom before the braking point. Normally we hit about 190, somewhere there. So yeah, hopefully we'll get there.
Awesome. Well, I wish you the best of luck and stay safe out there.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thanks. Let's go back to Gareth and Stephen commentary.
But yeah, big thanks Nadine, big downpour just coming through there, and yeah, certainly looking like a little bit more interesting outside. Yeah, just getting some images here from our team. It's looking a little bit clearer as we look out towards the ocean, so it looks like that was just a little downpour. And Brendan, these guys will be, were you surprised that he was enjoying it?
Yeah, well, you know, they've been sitting here since early this morning wanting to go and perform on the big stage. You know, it's not every day that our regional racing gets live streamed. We're just watching Daniel Bright in the little 69 Lotus. He was going to take part in the golf, but he's been having some.
Look at that!
Oh, there he goes! Around he goes. Oh, well saved. At least gets it pointed back in the right direction again. He's set the quickest time so far, a 1:27, which is way off his regular pace around here. But yeah, it's for the 5 hour later on this afternoon. I just feel so sorry for the guys in all the backdraft Cobras, because you're certainly exposed to the elements in those cars.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're talking to the guys that. Part adrenaline, part craziness, part the love of the racing. You kind of like make it all happen. But to do that consistently, and then of course to do it in the dark as well. So we can see him coming through. Yeah, the 69 Daniel Bright coming around out of the hairpin, and you can see that part of it is just finding the right point to put down the pedal. And there we just
we missed the end. We just got the end piece of that spin, but. Yeah, just powered into the spin there. No major drama.
Just on a minute now to go for this. The Coastal Car Challenge. Just tell us a bit about the series that takes place here at Scribante.
This is the Bennett Plumbers Coastal Challenge, and it's a challenge that's aimed at historics and classics for the, as the name says, the coastal guys. So between Cape Town, East London and Port Elizabeth, these guys have got a challenge, and it's to encourage guys to travel to other circuits and go and race there. So they score points in their own home races. It all goes into the pot, and then they calculate the winner at the end of that. So it really, to me, it's always a highlight to see these cars from yesteryear coming out here. I mean, Barry Spriggs, these guys have been around motor racing for years and years and years, and Ron Scott as well in the third of the little escorts. So I think we've got 3 escorts: Barry Spriggs, Neil Stephen, and Ron Scott in the escorts. And these guys eat, sleep, and drink motorsport. And Ron very involved in the rally scene as well. And then obviously Neil and his sons and grandsons racing go-karts in East London as well. So they always come down and support our races here in Port Elizabeth. So it's fantastic to have somebody the caliber of Neil Stephen coming and showing us what he does best.
Yeah, of course. Look, the weather's decimated the field a little bit.
It has indeed.
We've just got 5 on the circuit at the moment. But how strong is the field in the series?
Normally,
all right. Yeah, so just a strong field this.
Yeah.
Just before we'll come back to that in a moment as we look at the wider shot here of conditions. But Nadine now with one of the other drivers just to find out how their little outlap went. So over to you, Nadine.
How was that out there?
Slippery, properly slippery. I haven't driven in 3 years, and this is like baptism of fire coming back to it. I don't have the right tires, and my car is hopelessly too stiff for this. So I'm going to try and soften it up now a bit. But it's a handful out there, especially being back-wheel drive. It's getting a bit loose in the bum there, but good fun.
Well, as long as you're having fun and keeping it safe, then it's nice to be here.
Lekker, yeah, awesome.
So tell me now, how does your strategy change with these conditions?
Well, normally you try and soften the car up, because at the moment when they're so stiff like this, the wheels just won't bite. They'll have one biting, one not. So I need to get underneath here now and try and loosen it up and drive smooth. You've got to drive super smooth. I think with rain tires you get away with murder. Obviously I just got normal semi-slicks on, and they're 4 years old, so no budget for new tires.
Risky business, eh?
Yes, it is, keeps.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, we wish you the best out there. Try keep the slipping and sliding in the lines, and we'll come chat to you a little later again. Thanks, Philip. Thanks. Let's go back to Gareth and Stephen commentary.
Absolutely awesome to have Philip Wise back on the track, a character of note, and also very involved in motocross as well. His son, Caden, South African colours for motocross, and multi-talented family they are.
Yeah.
So fantastic to have him, and just telling it as it is. I mean, that's what with Philip, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And they're great. We're going back to the numbers of the Coastal Challenge. It's often our biggest class on race days, where we have anything up to 20. Possibly 22, 23.
Sure.
Absolute classics out there. The Anglias, we haven't seen any of the Anglias. The guys are rather packed them away. We've got the Capris, we've got some big Skylines as well. So it is a nice, fun class. And then obviously we've got Sid Lipstrew in a Toyota Celica as well. Beautiful Castrol replica Toyota Celica. So some really great cars that take part in the Coastal Challenge.
Yeah, look, those cars are historic. Hard to get parts for them, so you can understand and sympathize a little bit with them. But great to see some of the cars out there. 3-year-old tires, though? 3-year-old tires?
Yeah, wow. that car's been parked for a while. It was James Madison's car, the man from Madison Graphics. It was his car, and it's been standing idle for a while now. And then Philip had a last moment the other day. He tried his hand at rallying the other day. Him and his son Caden in the car with him. They took part in the Scribante rally the other day and absolutely loved it. And I think the bugger's bitten. The bugger's bitten properly now. So, and Philip was telling me yesterday that we go back to Daniel Bright now in the 69 car, just on the power. And as soon as he gets it on the power, there gracefully a little pirouette, and then faces back in the right direction and heads down towards the sweep. So those are the conditions the guys are going to have to contend with. We see it from another angle here. and nice and gently, well caught in the end.
But look at all the standing water. You see the shine on the track
the
there.
shine.
That's off the racing line there. So you see the car's not going on that inside part of the track. So you can see a bit of a splash off his car, a little bit of boating through the hairpin.
Yep, and hearing in the background, the bikes are obviously going out onto the track now. So this will be the moment when we see exactly what happens out on track, or what the track conditions are. Because if anybody's going to be able to gauge the conditions, it's going to be these guys on the bikes.
Listen, anyone in a car has nothing to say now when we see these boys giving it full taps out on the track. So this is now one of our local series as well. Sort of how many competitors, who makes up the class?
The numbers have grown nicely over the last couple of race meetings. We were watching Sean Ben. No, not Sean Ben. It is
like Kawasaki, maybe?
It's a Kawasaki ZX10, but it's Sean Ben's brother. I'm trying to think what his name is. It'll come to me now as soon as we see the names coming up on the screen. But it's a Kawasaki ZX10. So.
Okay, we'll have a quick look here.
Yeah, we got a list.
As he's going through now, the kink into the hangar.
Timothy Ben on the Kawasaki ZX10.
And I'm looking forward to seeing them hit, if they can give it some full taps. Obviously going to break a lot earlier, just really trying to feel the conditions. Remember, this is not qualifying, this is not a race, this is just a sighting lap for the boys to go and have a look and see what the conditions are like. We're screaming around the track still in the conditions that we have.
Saw Dylan Anderson on the 42 bike. This is him coming through the sweep, and you can just feel it very gingerly. It is the out lap of it. So rather just take it easy around the circuit, see what the conditions are like, and then start opening it up a bit from there. But I think the first of the bikes that went out, we'll just pick up their number. It looked like Ruan van Sale, but
Ruan did a 145, obviously just warming up. But Timothy Ben a 103.4 in these conditions. Just to put it into perspective, I mean, that's the pace of some of our top endurance cars. I mean, that's quicker than what we're seeing on the roadsters as well.
I don't think that time is right because it was his outlap. But
let's have a look.
103. That doesn't quite sound right.
There's no real shortcuts in this track, so we'll keep an eye on it.
How that happened? That's Dylan Krobler, the young man we interviewed earlier on, confident young man, and he's certainly going to go a long way in motorcycle racing.
Okay, there we go. The timing is correct. You were right. It's a 121.4 then for Timothy Ben.
That sounds more realistic.
Just when we were about to give him the prize, we were about to give him the podium there. There he comes through. Okay, so we've got three of the guys
on the 46
on the track at the moment,
and you can just see how upright they're keeping it. You don't want to lie that bike down at all. The risk of losing it just so quickly as more and more raindrops appear on the lens of the camera. So conditions not ideal out there. That wind just unabated at this stage.
But give them credit for going out and trying, and just really impressive. Right, so slowly through there, just tiptoeing. Now just open the taps and let's see now what kind of speeds we can get to. Still very much upright.
Yep. Normally through Dunlop, I mean, those guys are the knees on the ground and they already hard on the power coming out of there. That's a 42 bike that we're looking at. That's Dylan where did I go? 42.
Dylan Anderson.
Dylan Anderson,
Early on the brakes there, you can see well ahead of the 150 meter mark. So coming through the S's now. This is where there can be some standing water. If the bikes can do it, you can see the racing line actually developing there. They're sticking very close to it. So conditions, just light drizzle outside at the moment. He's not that keen. He's not keen.
Ruan, he has impressed me immensely over the last couple of weeks. I've just spent a lot of time out at the circuit and just see how much time he's actually spending running with Brights Motorsport, and he's spending lots and lots of time out on track practicing and just honing his skills. And he certainly has come along in leaps and bounds in the last couple of months.
I'm starting to see some spectators as well alongside the track there, which is great. Some were here from early this morning already, getting opportunity to see what's a star-studded lineup of impressive cars later on in the 5 hours of Aldo Scribante. But they go, probably through 25 seconds, one more lap to go for the motorcycles, giving them an opportunity to have a look. Motorcycling and Nelson Mandela Bay always been two names that go together very well. We've produced some incredible champions through the years, and yeah, I'd love to see a lot more out there, you know, motorcycling just needing a bit of a lift.
Absolutely, and I was just before we went live, I believe Brad Binder was running right at the front end of the qualifying session, and unfortunately put it down again. So he has had a horrible run of late.
Okay, so here we go. We've got one more session. So just to remind you, we're going to let the Super Vs go out next. So they've still got 2 races to go. Possibly will be shortened now to just 1 race today. We're going to get confirmation that they went out yesterday, and it was the rookie that picked up the race victory yesterday. So Bevan Williams winning in the Super V class. So yeah, we're expecting some upsets today. It's basically whoever's on the grid has a good chance of winning if you can get through to the end. So this is a sighting lap. What's going to happen next for us as they start to finish? There you've got the checkered flag coming out, is that we'll have the Super Vs. Then we're going to have the SAEE coming up on track, possibly the 150 still. And then a decision will be made about the program for the rest of today. The idea, I think, Brendan, is that at least give everybody 1 race.
Yep, that was it too.
Yeah, and then prep for the 4 o'clock start. Of course, we go live on Supersport from 3:30 for round 3 of 6 of the South African Endurance Series.
Yeah, what the officials had decided was that qualifying would go out the window. They would base the grid positions on championship standings at the moment, and if you weren't in the championship standing, like the likes of Philip Wise, he'd be at the back of the grid, and I don't think Philip would mind it.
Just waving to my fans there, one-handed through the water.
As I said, I don't think Philip would mind starting at the back of the grid, because he's going to be in for a heap of fun once he's made those adjustments. Just acknowledging the marshals as they go around the circuit, the unsung heroes in these extremely wet conditions out on track.
Yeah, look, that camera is perhaps a bit misleading. We're looking outside our commentary box here, and there's just a slight drizzle falling. What you're seeing there is a camera, unfortunately, that's facing the rain, so it looks pretty bad. But yeah, it's certainly, as we've been saying a lot, better conditions. And you start to see a little bit of where the puddles are now. We've not actually seen a lot of that. We've just seen a wet track, but there you can actually... sorry, Tony, can you just keep your feet on the cycle there, please? So we're getting nervous here watching from the commentary booth. I don't know what it's like over there. Can you stop waving to the fans there? Thank you.
Look at the standing water on the side of the circuit, and I think that's the puddle I stood in when I got here this morning. In the pitch dark, I got out of the car and up to my ankle in water, and I thought, what a way to start the day.
Okay, that's looking a lot clearer. This is now down the main straight. Yesterday the wind was with them. Today it's proper sideways stuff. And we'll start to look now towards the end of that pit lane for the first of the Super Vs. Yeah, I also want to just give credit to whoever made those banners, those flags that are there, because I don't know how. We've seen a few casualties of banners, but those banners, have you ever printed those banners? Go find out, because those are some mean banners.
Absolute quality.
Still holding on. Quality
banners in these sort of conditions. So I'm going to step out of the hot seat. Steve's going to jump in for the Super Vs, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Yeah, Mr. Motormouth, Brendan Kelly, thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing the first races of the weekend, of course, in the local series. So thanks to Brendan, and yeah, great to see local motorsport doing so well, healthy here in Nelson Mandela Bay. Looking at the conditions there in the distance, we can't see the city in the background, so they're obviously covered in rain. But yeah, we're a few kilometers out of Nelson Mandela Bay, Gqeberha, and so we are able to going to see some of the conditions a little bit different out here, coming straight off the ocean. And Steve, good to be back with you. What you been seeing out on the track, eh?
Well, going and having a chat to the drivers. Everyone is watching the edges of the circuit, trying to see exactly where the puddles are. The Super Vs, the Liquid Moly Super Vs, mainly have been trying to see what turn 6 is looking like. Worrying about those flat floors. They're worrying that if they're going to have pretty much surfboards underneath them. Many of the drivers actually going and considering of taking the wings off just so it doesn't get blown away. When we had Bevan Williams, he just turned around and said, well, I'm going to give it flat out, Lucian. If you want to win the championship, good luck. Jean-Andre Leroux is busy going in saying, well, Bevan, maybe you should push him a little bit harder. Lucian, not so keen on that idea.
Okay, well, we're going to quickly go down to the pits because Nadine's is one of the guys who just come off the track on the bikes and see how they experience the conditions here at Aldo Scribante. So tell us, Nadine.
Thanks, Gareth. I'm here with Tim Ben, part of the Unlimited Superbikes, correct?
That's right, yeah. The one and only in the Unlimited class today.
Oh, well, at least there's one. How was that out there?
Very wet, very wet. It's not too bad. I can handle it without pushing too hard. The worst is the entering the straight here where they have drag strips. That's pretty slippery from all the rubber they put down there. But otherwise, it went well. Felt good.
Good. And tell me, how are you going to handle that last turn then?
I just have to take it easy, and hopefully nobody overtakes me there.
Well, luckily you're the only one then.
No, there'll be another 4 bikes, I think, with me, but I'm the only one on the 1000cc. There'll be 600, and I think 2 or 3 390s and a 400, I think, something like that, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, wishing you everything the best. Keep it safe in the wet there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, finally. Let's go back to Stephen, Gareth, and commentary.
Right, thanks Nadine. Right, on to the track. Great to see the Super V's. And Steve, this is what we were talking about earlier. You're starting to see some puddles. We didn't see this earlier because it was just pouring with rain. This camera's lens needs a bit of a clean. It's a bit misleading right now because the conditions are not as bad as what that looks like. That is turn 6 where everyone was worried about. There is a bit of standing water on the inside. You can see there as they come around the hairpin on that right-hand side as they come out, there's a bit of water. And this, the bottom of the hill here, taking it very easy, huh?
Got to be very, very cautious, and this is where horsepower does not come into your favor. And that's what DJ Boyerson, who we just saw on screen in the Formula Volkswagen, taking a very gingerly drive. This is a new circuit to him, so he doesn't want to have any problems. A lot of the drivers have never experienced Aldo Scribante. Well, they're going to feel it at both its best and its worst over the course of the 2 days. Yannick Gerber being one of them. So it's actually quite frightening to see how the corners change so much over the course of a night. Lucian Ranchanda has some experience here. Bevan Williams has some experience here. Alan Mayer has actually been here numerous times and is saying he's actually enjoying the conditions a little bit more. Instead of worrying about trying to get heat into the tires, now he can maximize just carrying grip the whole way, no grip the whole way through. And he got the practice from yesterday.
Well, he said, I hope we go racing because I've been working on my car all morning under the cover. And yeah, they are out on track. We're starting to see a bit of a dry line there. And it's because these cars, like we saw with the Lamborghini earlier, just hoying the water in the air properly. And yeah, being able to just create a bit more grip. What is interesting from the bikes, though, was talking about the grip on that final corner. We haven't anybody refer to that. The Dragsers, of course, use that section. So there's a lot more rubber here. We can see coming out Dunlop, the final corner. They're staying well away from the curbs there. You can notice that. Possibly standing water, possibly rather just, well, that one went a little bit wider there. But now giving it full horns, and this is now you can see the power boating effect and creating huge spray with the wind ripping it across the track into the spectators that have got their cars parked here on the side.
Now the rooster tail coming off the back of the cars. We saw the main thing with these cars is if you go anywhere onto the runoff, it is concrete. And that is like driving on ice. It's even worse than being on the tar. So you want to avoid it at all costs, as we see Alan getting onto the back of Grant Will in his Willari, going and having a bit of fun out there. He says the conditions are very challenging, going and looking his mirrors. And these don't have windscreen wipers. You have to try and wipe the visor off it yourself. And as I spoke about a little bit earlier, it misses up quite badly. So you've got to lift the visor ever so slightly just to get a bit of airflow in. Otherwise, you're going to be driving blind of note. And the last thing you want to be doing is taking your hands too far away from the steering wheel to wipe the visor in these conditions.
So just to remind you, if you're joining us, welcome to Aldo Scribante, Nelson Mandela Bay, down at the bottom of Africa. We are here for round 3, and this is the Super V's. They are the support race for the Endurance Series. And at the moment, we are not racing. We are sighting. We're giving the drivers and the teams an opportunity just to suss out the conditions. You're looking in the distance and you're thinking these do not look like racing conditions. Nelson Mandela Bay, Port Elizabeth is a city that's on the coast, so the conditions can be varying from kilometer to kilometer, and that's why what we're seeing here is racing at the famous Aldo Scribante track. A little bit of drizzle falling, lots of strong winds, but around there is plenty of rain. We've had some heavy downpours, and with 26 seconds to go, it is Alan Mayer. Can I call him a veteran, huh? Bit of a legend here in the series, comfortably in the head from the rest. That experience showing there, Steve.
Well, that's it. Alan going and putting in a 120.8 as his fastest lap time. Bevan Williams, who's in a Super V, did a 123.4. DJ Boerson, who in the first race ran away with no one able to catch him, is now sitting at 127.7. This is his first time in the rain out in these at the circuit. Then you've got Yannick Gerber, 130. Neville van der Berg with 133. So you can see how the times just drop off hugely for those that haven't experienced these conditions. up in Joburg,
Yeah.
and we don't get the wind up here
And
well,
the
in
rain.
Joburg.
All combination in one. Just there comes the flag out now, the end of this little sighting session.
Herman
But just to,
Cricker.
just to put it into perspective, DJ Boyson, who ran away with the victory yesterday, is 7 seconds slower than Alan Mayer. So it just shows you they're really just taking the opportunity to suss out the conditions, not taking it too seriously, just to keep it out of the barriers and make sure that you're keeping it nice and safe. So that's a sighting lap from the Super Vs. So the plan was now actually, Steve, to get the CBR 150s, maybe get them. We're going to see if that goes ahead or not. And then the big one, the sighting for the 5 hour.